Chapter 674. Carrying the Shadow Heavenly Stone, Long Yu set off from the Source Sky Tower with Nanmen, Yingxia, and Xiao Xing, heading toward the North Snow Royal City. The first thing Long Yu did when he returned to the Heavenly Mandate Manor was to absorb the power of the Shadow Heavenly Stone to improve his strength. The journey was long, so he released the Shura Spirit Boat and flew rapidly in the sky with Nanmen, Yingxia, and Xiao Xing. The upper grade Heaven Flying Soldier was much faster than the Earth Flying Soldier of the Crack 2 squad. After all, it belonged to the Azura Princess. For the martial cultivators of the Jianghu, many things were difficult to obtain. For example, the Heaven Flying Soldier was hard to come by. On the way, Long Yu asked Xiao Xing about the King Realm expert who sold him the Shadow Heavenly Stone. He didn't expect Xiao Xing to know so much. The King Realm expert with a face full of scars was quite famous in the Spring Heavenly Tower. Like Gu Yixian, he had many teams under him. However, it was said that not long ago, when they were exploring a ruin, they were almost completely annihilated. Only the King Realm expert escaped. Later, the King Realm expert saved enough money and hired several other martial cultivators and demon cultivators from the King Path Secret Realm to enter the relic to rescue his team members. However, even after Long Yu and Xiao Xing left, the King Realm expert still hadn't returned. No one knew how he was doing. Long Yu wasn't very interested in the details. It was enough to make sure that the King Realm expert couldn't threaten him. I've never been to the North Snow Royal City. 3 days later, Xiao Xing's eyes shone with a hint of yearning when she saw the huge city in the distance covered in ice and snow. I heard that you have a Heavenly Mandate Manor near the North Snow Royal City. Is that true? Nanmen Yingxia, a more mature female cultivator, looked at Long Yu and asked. That's right. Long Yu nodded, but he didn't say anything about the Heavenly Mandate Manor tomorrow. It's really amazing to have a manor in the Royal City. Xiao Xing smiled and said, It's said that when a manor ranks in the top 3 in the Imperial Capital's Grand Assembly, the manor owner's right to own the manor will be revoked. There will be a grand event of the Martial Dao next, and all the martial cultivators at the King's Boundary in the entire Imperial Dynasty will be qualified to participate in the competition for these 3 manors. Has Gu Yixian participated before? Long Yu asked. He has been in the King's Path Secret Realm for 4 years. It is said that he participated once when he just stepped into the King's Realm, but he was eliminated midway. Xiao Xing said regretfully, At that time, Sister Southgate and I hadn't joined the Broken 2 squad yet. Then you have to be mentally prepared. Right now, the Heavenly Mandate Manor that I own is not very powerful. Long Yu smiled and said, Who knows? Our Heavenly Mandate Manor might end up in the bottom 3 in this grand event in the Imperial Capital. That's why I asked for your help. It can't be. Xiao Xing was quite surprised. She had heard of Long Yu, but she hadn't heard much about the situation of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. After all, she had been operating near the Source Sky Tower and didn't know much about the situation in the North Snow Imperial Capital. Now that you've come to the Heavenly Mandate Manor, you are the 2 with the highest martial Dao cultivation. Long Yu said rather helplessly. The 2 girls were speechless for a while. Xiao Xing even felt as if she had been kidnapped here. She didn't know that the situation of Long Yu's Heavenly Mandate Manor was so bad. Soon, Long Yu introduced the 2 girls to the main figures of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, so that the 2 girls had a little understanding of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. It was inevitable that they would look down on it. But for Xiao Xing, the most important thing was that they were about to participate in the grand event of the Imperial Capital. This was a grand event of the martial Dao for the entire younger generation of the North Snow Imperial Capital. Xiao Xing had never known what level her strength was among the younger generation. Now, she finally had the chance to test it. We're here. When they came to the sky above the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Long Yu said 2 words and urged the Azura Spirit Boat to descend. It seems that someone is causing trouble. The girl, Xiao Xing, looked down at the world of ice and snow. She found that at the entrance of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, there seemed to be 2 groups of people confronting each other, separated by a defensive matrix. She was quite surprised. That's right. Long Yu nodded, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He descended directly toward the entrance of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. The entire area of the Heavenly Mandate Manor was protected by a defensive matrix. As long as the Crimson Moon was activated, it could stop anyone below the secret realm of the Royal Path from entering. As for the cultivators who had reached the secret realm of the Royal Path, unless they were tired of living, it was impossible for them to wander around the North Snow Imperial capital. After all, the ownership of the Heavenly Mandate Manor was under the protection of the North Snow dynasty. It seemed that the group of martial Dao cultivators below wanted to break into the Heavenly Mandate Manor, but they were blocked by the defensive matrix activated by the Crimson Moon. Long Yu didn't hide and landed directly outside the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Even he couldn't directly pass through the defensive matrix and enter the Heavenly Mandate Manor. What's going on? Long Yu put away the Shura spirit boat and walked forward with Xiao Xing and Nanmening Xia. He saw a group of martial Dao cultivators in dark blue robes mocking Hong Yu and the others from the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Seeing Long Yu walking over, the group of martial Dao cultivators in dark blue robes suddenly laughed out loud. Everyone, come and see. This is the Manor Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, His Excellency Long Yu. I'm dying of laughter. He only has the cultivation of the 3 divine realms. Ha ha ha. Hong Yu, who are they? Long Yu didn't pay attention to the group of martial Dao cultivators. He looked at Hong Yu and asked. When Hong Yu and the others from the Heavenly Mandate Manor saw Long Yu, they felt a little relieved. It seemed that as long as Long Yu was there, any problem could be easily solved. They're from the Qinyang house in the imperial capital, Hong Yu replied directly. Last time, Manzi and I went to the imperial capital to sell the elixirs that we made, but the people from the Qinyang house said that they were fake. Hey, there were more than 30 people from the Qinyang house. One of them, who looked like the leader of the 7 divine realms, looked at Long Yu. The big mole at the corner of his mouth was very conspicuous. He said arrogantly and disdainfully, "Your Heavenly Mandate Manor is selling fake elixirs, and you don't want people to say anything? I have a brother who took your fake elixirs and got his meridians blocked. You must pay for it. Otherwise, the Qinyang house will not let the Heavenly Mandate Manor off the hook at the imperial capital. Do as you see fit. Where's your brother whose meridians are blocked?" Long Yu asked lightly. "He is resting in the Qinyang house." "Why? Do you want him to come see you, Great Villa Lord?" The leader of the Qinyang house laughed out loud. "Or, Great Villa Lord, do you want to come with us to the Qinyang house and visit my brother who is lying in bed? Is this true?" Long Yu looked at Hong Yu. "They are framing us. There is nothing wrong with our elixirs," Hong Yu said angrily. "And they said that my brother's meridians are blocked. It is completely false. If we ask them to show us the evidence, they will ask us to go to the Qinyang house. Obviously, we will fall into their trap." Hearing this, Long Yu nodded. If he followed these people to the Qinyang house, the situation would change immediately. Once the Qinyang house had a hostage, they would have an absolute advantage in the negotiation. If your people are really injured because of our elixirs, we will naturally pay for it. But it is not so easy to fool us with a story. Long Yu stood in front of Hong Yu and said coldly to the more than 30 martial arts practitioners from the Qinyang house, "Cut the crap." The leader of the Qinyang house puffed out his chest. His eyes were full of disdain and disdain. "If your manor wants to continue to exist after the Imperial Capital Festival, you'll have to pay us 5 million North Snow coins. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences." This threat was almost fatal to the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Because the Heavenly Mandate Manor was too weak, the Qinyang Manor had come to bully them and try to extort money from them. 5 million North Snow coins was equivalent to more than 600 Shunbi, which was a lot for an ordinary manor. Not to mention that the Heavenly Mandate Manor could not afford such a large sum of money at the moment. Of course, even if they could, Hong Yu would not compromise. Long Yu would not be blackmailed by the Qinyang house. He sneered and said, "As long as you show us the evidence, I will compensate you. But if you can't, then get out of here." "Oh, a mere Great Villa Lord with 3 divine realms is quite arrogant." The leader of the Qinyang house, who had a big mole on the corner of his mouth, looked Long Yu up and down in surprise. He clicked his tongue and said, "Don't think that you can challenge the Qinyang house just because you have 2 girls with 5 divine realms behind you. Why don't you give them to my injured brother? Maybe he will forgive the heavenly mandate manner." Ha ha ha. 2 girls can be exchanged for 5 million North Snow coins. What a good deal. You. The girl, Qiao Xing, was the first to lose it. She glared at the leader of the Qinyang house. She had been in the Source Sky Tower for so long, but she had never seen such a shameless martial cultivator. She did not expect that the disciples of the so-called big forces in the North Snow Imperial City would be so despicable. What about me? The leader of the Qinyang house touched the big mole on the corner of his mouth and looked at Qiao Xing's body with a wretched expression. Could it be that the girl has fallen for me? Not bad, not bad. Since that is the case, follow us back to the Qinyang house. With the defense matrix, the people of the Qinyang house could not do anything to Hong Yu and the others. But now, Long Yu, Nanmin Xia, and Xiao Xing were outside the defense matrix. Once Hong Yu removed the defense matrix, the people of the Qinyang house will be able to step into the heavenly mandate manner. Hearing the leader of the Qinyang house, they did not know what to do. The leader of the Qinyang house waved his hand and said, "Brothers, capture those 2 girls and bring them back to the house." As soon as he finished speaking, the people of the Qinyang house, who were wearing dark blue robes, ran forward with wretched expressions. They were really going to capture the 2 girls. A cold light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. Of course, he would not let them do as they pleased. But just as he was about to make a move, Qiao Xing stopped him. "I'm afraid that these guys can't do anything to me and Nanmin Xia." Qiao Xing looked at the divine character power that the leader of the Qinyang house, who was in the 7 divine characters realm, released. A look of disdain appeared in her eyes. It was obvious that the leader of the Qinyang house had not comprehended a complete divine character inscription. So what if he had the cultivation of the 7 divine characters realm? Qiao Xing and Nanmin Xia had both comprehended a complete divine character inscription. This was a world of difference from ordinary martial cultivators. Chapter 675. For Jianghu martial cultivators, anything was possible. However, the danger they faced was much greater than the disciples of the North Snow Royal City. Although Qiao Xing looked very naive, the fact that she was able to achieve what she had today was definitely not an easy feat. The amount of battles she had experienced was probably much more than what the leader of the Qinyang Manor had experienced. Water prison, bind. When the leader of Qinyang Manor led more than 30 people towards Long Yu, Qiao Xing raised her hand and condensed the complete power of the water divine character, forming a huge water prison. The uninterrupted flow of water trapped the 30 people inside. "Break for me." The leader of Qinyang Manor smirked, and a fierce look appeared in his eyes. In his eyes, Qiao Xing and Nanmin Xia were only 5 Daos divine realm cultivators. How could they resist the attack of 30 people? It should be known that the people of Qinyang Manor were not only the leader of the 7 Daos divine realm, but also 2 experts of the 6 Daos divine realm. Apart from the 3 experts, the others were also experts of the divine realm. Together, they were a huge force. The leader of the 7 Daos divine realm and the 2 experts of the 6 Daos divine realm immediately condensed the power of the divine characters. Accompanied by a flash of lightning, the leader of Qinyang Manor condensed a ball of lightning in his hand and smashed it on the water prison created by Qiao Xing. At the same time, the other 2 experts of the 6 Daos divine realm also used their own methods to smash the water prison. However, Qiao Xing's attack had already arrived. Water, flow, heaven, burial. The power of the water divine characters surged out from Qiao Xing's hand and directly covered the 30 people of Qinyang Manor. The leader of Qinyang Manor, who had just broken through the water prison, was hit head-on. He was pushed back by the rapid flow of water and fell heavily. If even the leader of the 7 Daos divine realm was in such a state, there was no need to talk about the others. Most of the Qinyang Manor's cultivators were pushed back by this move. Their bodies were soaked, and they looked extremely embarrassed. Because she attacked too many people at the same time, Xiao Ziying's water flow sky burial didn't have much killing power. She didn't kill anyone, and only a few low-level divine power secret realm martial cultivators suffered light injuries. Moreover, this move of hers had only repelled over 20 of them. Under the lead of a 6 transcendent realm martial cultivator, the remaining dozen or so people charged toward Xiao Ziying. The power of radiant divine runes instantly erupted as they tried to capture Xiao Ziying. At that moment, Nanmin Yingxia, who had been hiding behind Xiao Ziying, finally made his move. With a wave of his hand, a burst of fire-type divine runes erupted. Terrifying flames exploded in front of Xiao Ziying, causing the martial cultivators of Qinyang Manor, who wanted to capture her, to retreat in shock. They could sense that the explosion of fire divine characters just now was probably as powerful as their leader's lightning explosion. It was equivalent to the power of a 7-path divinity realm expert. These two girls have the complete divine rune inscriptions. Looks like they're Long Yu's helpers. The leader of the Qinyang Manor martial cultivators, who had a large mole at the corner of his mouth, stood up from the water divine runes. A burst of lightning divine runes followed the flow of water and attacked Xiao Ziying at a terrifying speed. Facing the attack of 7 divine power realm experts, Xiao Ziying didn't dare to be careless. Her entire body was covered by the water divine runes, and her eyes flashed. Water flow. Xiao Ziying's entire body merged with the water, just like how Long Yu merged with the 9 underworld heavenly light. Then, the terrifying lightning was directly driven out of the water divine runes. The water that filled the sky gathered into a huge dragon, which pounced toward the leader of the Qinyang Manor martial cultivators. "You're courting death." Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the leader of the Qinyang Manor martial cultivators. With a wave of his hand, a few lightning balls instantly condensed and shot toward the water dragon. The next moment, the lightning balls and the water dragon collided with each other, and a terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. Xiao Ziying's figure reappeared in midair. Her entire body was as soft as flowing water, but she managed to block the attack of 7 divine power realm experts. Not only that, but she also countered the attack of 7 divine power realm experts. It was shocking. Explosive flame judgment. Just as the lightning balls and the water dragon collided, a giant flaming sword descended from the sky and smashed in front of the leader of the Qinyang Manor martial cultivators, burning the ground beneath his feet. The leader's expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated a few steps. Only then did he realize that the others he brought with him had all been forced back by the fire divine runes. He couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. They were a group of more than 30 people, yet they weren't a match for 2 girls of the 5 Taoist divinity realm. Although the 2 girls must have comprehended the complete divine rune inscriptions, this battle was too embarrassing for them. Most importantly, how were they going to report back to the Qinyang Manor? Could it be that the 30 of them were forced back by the 2 girls? Impossible. Keep your spirits up. Don't hold back. Kill them. The leader of the 7 divine power realm martial cultivators of the Qinyang Manor had a gloomy expression. He was now sure that the 2 girls were reinforcements that Long Yu had called for. If that was the case, even if they couldn't capture them alive, they had to kill them to prevent any unforeseen events from happening in the imperial capital. Such powerful girls would definitely have a great influence in the imperial capital grand meet. With his order, the 30 martial cultivators of the Qinyang Manor, including him, all had murderous expressions on their faces. They all took out their combat weapons and prepared to kill Xiao Ziying and Nanmin Yingxia. However, Xiao Ziying and Nanmin Yingxia were not to be taken advantage of. Since they want to kill us, there's no need for us to hold back. Let's do it. Seeing this, Long Yu's voice deepened. His body instantly turned into the 9 underworld heavenly light, and the power of the 9 underworld divine runes instantly spread out, covering the 30 martial cultivators of the Qinyang Manor. Long Yu didn't want to reveal his true strength before the Imperial Capital Grand Meet. But with Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia acting as his cover, and the 9 underworld heavenly light blocking everyone's vision, he believed that no one would suspect a 3 divine power realm kid like him. In the pitch-black 9 underworld heavenly light, the martial cultivators of the Qinyang Manor screamed. Long Yu held the void nether dragon blade in his hand and shouted, "Kill their leader! Kill their leader!" After all, they were close to the North Snow Imperial capital. If they killed too many people, it would cause a huge commotion. Therefore, Long Yu only planned to kill the 7 divine power realm martial cultivators leaders. Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia came to the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Of course, they were prepared to listen to Long Yu's orders. Hearing Long Yu's order, they immediately activated their innate theurgy towards the 7 divine power realm martial cultivators leaders. Water divine runes and explosive flame divine runes blasted out from 2 directions, leaving the 7 divine power realm martial cultivators leaders with nowhere to escape. Wild Thunder Shield, the big mole at the corner of the martial cultivator's mouth trembled. Lightning radiated from his body, almost dispersing the 9 underworld heavenly light. However, a white bone arm suddenly appeared behind him and grabbed his thigh. Innate theurgy, hand of 9 underworld. The appearance of the hand of 9 underworld threw the martial cultivator's leader into chaos. Immediately after, the water and explosive flame divine runes attacked him, drowning him in the torrent of divine runes. The fire and elemental water divine runes made it impossible for the martial cultivator's leader to resist. He was directly killed by Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia. At the same time, Long Yu retracted the 9 underworld heavenly light and brought Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia away. Long Yu raised his head and looked at the scene. The 7 divine power realm martial cultivators' bodies were left behind. When the others saw this, they all retreated in shock. "Why are you still here? If you don't leave, I'll kill all of you as well," Long Yu shouted in a stern voice. The 2 remaining 6 divine power realm martial cultivators heard this and quickly grabbed their leader's body. After saying a few words, they led the others away. They had no doubt that if Long Yu had wanted to kill them, all of them would have been killed. It seemed that the Manor Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Long Yu, was not someone to be trifled with. However, they still did not take Long Yu seriously. The Heavenly Mandate Manor did not even have a King's Path secret realm. It would definitely be eliminated in the Imperial Capital's grand event. Even if the Heavenly Mandate Manor had a talented girl, so what? Almost every force that participated in the Imperial Capital's grand event from North Snow Imperial Capital had talented young geniuses. All of them had comprehended the complete divine runes. Only they, who ran errands for the big forces, could not withstand a single blow. The villains of Qinyang Manor were defeated. Only then did Long Yu bring Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia into the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Han Yu hurried to greet them. "Manor Lord Long, aren't you going to introduce these 2 girls?" Han Yu glanced at Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia, then asked Long Yu with a smile. "Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia are good friends I made outside. They will help us in the Imperial Capital's grand event." Long Yu briefly introduced them and then said, "First, arrange a place for them to stay. Then, show them around the Heavenly Mandate Manor. It is mainly an area with a cultivation matrix." "Understood." Han Yu nodded and said respectfully to Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia, "Ladies, please come with me. Although our Heavenly Mandate Manor is not a great place, we have a cultivation matrix that can double the speed of cultivation. I wonder if you would like to take a look at it?" "Double the speed?" Xiao Xing and Nanmin Ingxia looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. No wonder so many people wanted to be the master of the manor in North Snow Imperial Capital. It turned out that such a cultivation matrix was built in the manor. Although the 2 girls had heard of it before, they had not seen it with their own eyes. Soon, Han Yu would lead the 2 girls to the cultivation matrix to observe. For martial arts practitioners in the Jianghu, a cultivation matrix that could double the speed of cultivation would cost at least a few hundred divine coins to rent for a month. Chapter 676. After sending Qiao Xing and Nanmin Yingxia to the room with the cultivation matrix, Long Yu walked around the heavenly mandate manor with Hong Yu. He knew that in the past 2 months, many people in the heavenly mandate manor had made progress in their cultivation. With the help of the rich cultivation resources that Long Yu had brought back, most people in the heavenly mandate manor had improved at least one level of the martial arts realm in the past 2 months. The fastest ones had even improved 4 or 5 levels of the martial arts realm in 2 months. This was something that they had never dared to imagine before. The people in the heavenly mandate manor used to have low levels of cultivation, not because they were not talented enough, but because they did not have enough cultivation resources. On the heavenly mandate island, it was extremely difficult to break through to the heavenly being secret realm. In the end, it was because of the lack of cultivation resources. Many talented martial cultivators would never be able to reach the threshold of the heavenly people's secret realm because they did not have enough training resources. Most of them would be crippled or even killed in the fight for limited training resources. With enough cultivation resources, it was still a hurdle to enter the heavenly being secret realm from the true spirit secret realm, but it was much easier than before. 2 months was enough for many talented martial arts cultivators to break through to the heavenly being secret realm. Long Yu casually walked around the heavenly mandate manor and found that the situation of the entire heavenly mandate manor was much better than before he left. There were even 4 more people in the secret realms of magic, namely Fenyu Xian, Yi Luan, Ziling, and Qi Yun. Hong Yu, on the other hand, had not made a breakthrough, perhaps because she had spent too much effort on the matters of the heavenly mandate manor. However, she was on the verge of a breakthrough. She only needed to go through the last heavenly tribulation to successfully form her first innate magic. Fenyu Xian, now that you're the only one in the Death Army who has entered the divine secret realm, you will be the commander of the Death Army. To be honest, Long Yu was very surprised by Fenyu Xian's progress in the past 2 months. Before he left, he remembered that Fenyu Xian was only in the Renoir realm. He did not expect that in 2 months, she had advanced 4 levels and entered the divine secret realm. Without a doubt, this was because Fenyu Xian was extremely talented in cultivation. In addition, she had a deep understanding of martial arts, so there were almost no obstacles for her to break through. Yes, Brother Long, Feng Yusin smiled sweetly. She had always admired Long Yu. Since Long Yu had arranged for her to be the Legion commander of the Death Legion, there naturally wouldn't be any problems. You've improved quite quickly. Do you have any special tricks? Long Yu whispered to Fenyu Xian. Fenyu Xian blinked and said, "There's nothing special about it. It's just that I frequently head to the North Snow Imperial City's arena to engage in life and death battles with others." A life and death duel. Long Yu frowned. He did not expect Feng Yu Xian to do something so dangerous in the past 2 months. Yes, Wind and Rain Xian seemed to have a premonition that Long Yu would punish her. She shrunk her head and whispered, "I only went because I comprehended 10% of the divine rune of death. Those at the same boundary are not my match, so my safety is not a problem. Okay, just be careful." To her surprise, Long Yu nodded and did not say anything else. A life and death duel could greatly improve one's martial arts realm. Although it was dangerous, it was the fastest way to improve one's martial arts realm in a short time. Long Yu still said the same thing. Everyone had their own martial arts realm. Whether it was dangerous or safe, it was the path they chose. If Fenyu Xian had been killed in the arena of life and death, Long Yu would definitely have tried to avenge her. But he would not regret not stopping Fenyu Xian. Only by doing so could Fenyu Xian grow into a truly powerful cultivator. Compared to the martial arts cultivators who wandered around the world, Fenyu Xian's method was much more dangerous. A little carelessness could lead to death. Fortunately, she had successfully entered the mystery realm, and with the divine rune of death as the foundation, she had comprehended the first innate theurgy. In just 2 months, she had not only improved her martial arts realm to the mystery realm, but she had also comprehended 20% of the divine rune of death. This was the benefit of a life and death experience and focus comprehension. For example, Long Yu had only comprehended 1% of the power of the divine rune of death. That was because his mind was not focused on that, but on the divine rune of 9 nether. Now, Long Yu had comprehended 50% of the divine rune of 9 nether. If he could absorb the shadow heavenly stone, he would undoubtedly reach a higher level. Here are 15,000 divine coins. If it's convenient for you, you can buy yourself an upper-grade, Great Desolate grade combat weapon. Long Yu took out another 15,000 divine coins and handed them to Feng Yu Xian. Since Feng Yu Xian had entered the mystery realm, it was very likely that she would be the same as the heavenly mandate manor during the grand event in the imperial capital. It was necessary to equip her with an upper-grade, Great Desolate grade combat weapon. "Thank you, Big Brother Long." Feng Yu Xian did not refuse. She carefully put away the 15,000 divine coins. Although she had no idea where Long Yu got such a fortune, she still accepted it. She knew very well that Long Yu needed her to become stronger, strong enough to command the entire Death Army. "All right, work hard. I'll go first." Long Yu patted Feng Yu Xian's head and left with a smile. Other than Feng Yu Xian, it was not surprising that the other 3 had broken through to the secret plane. Yi Luan was already a Tianhua realm cultivator. Now that he had broken through 2 realms and comprehended the innate secret plane, it was normal for him to do so with his talent. Yi Luan was the commander of the Xuanwu army. He had comprehended a type of divine rune of fire. Before this, Long Yu had already given him a Great Desolate grade combat weapon, the Flame Whip. Now, it should be in the process of assimilating with it. Qi Yun was the pavilion master of the armament pavilion. She was originally only 1 step away from entering the mystery realm. After leaving the heavenly mandate island, without the obstruction of the 1,000 layers of heavenly spirits, it was only a matter of time before she broke through to the next level. With so many training resources brought back by Long Yu, she easily broke through the bottleneck. With the power of the divine rune of fire that she had comprehended, she made the seed in her Dantian blossom and condensed the first innate divine rune. Ziling was the lord of the alchemy hall of the heavenly mandate manor. She had comprehended a type of divine rune of ice and had also entered the mystery realm like Qi Yun. Unfortunately, Qi Yun and Ziling were both over 30 years old. They could not represent the heavenly mandate manor in the imperial capital grand gathering. Based on the current situation, there were only 5 people in the heavenly mandate manor who had enough cultivation to participate in the imperial capital grand gathering: Long Yu, Qiao Xing, Man Xen, Feng Yu Xian, and Yi Luan. Without reaching the mystery realm, wanting to participate in the imperial capital grand gathering was simply suicide. It was meaningless. Yi Luan, Qi Yun, Ziling, and the others could only comprehend the divine rune. Their power is not even comparable to an incomplete divine rune. After seeing Yi Luan, Qi Yun, and Ziling, Long Yu began to think. For a martial arts practitioner in the mystery realm, what was the most important thing? Of course, it was the power of comprehending the divine rune. For people like Long Yu, who had comprehended the divine rune source, he would definitely be much stronger than others. Next, people like Feng Yu Xian and Xiao Xing, who had comprehended the complete divine rune, would also have extraordinary power. Then, it was the power of comprehending the incomplete divine rune, such as those people from the Qinyang house that he had met just now. As for people like Yi Luan, Qi Yun, and Ziling, they could only spend a certain amount of money to find someone else in the North Snow Imperial Capital to copy the divine rune of a specific attribute, which would undoubtedly be the weakest kind. No matter what, in the Shunwu world, the divine rune was the foundation of a martial arts practitioner's power. Long Yu might have to think of a way to obtain some divine rune, even if it was incomplete. However, for the elites of the heavenly mandate manor, Long Yu didn't want them to only comprehend the divine rune with incomplete divine rune. For a young genius like Yi Luan, If he could obtain a complete divine rune, his strength would definitely increase greatly. And this was an urgent matter. Yilun, take these 5,000 Shinbi. Then find a way to buy a complete divine rune each with Qi Yun and Ziling. Long Yu handed over another 5,000 Shinbi to Yilun to purchase the divine rune engravings. A complete divine rune was worth as much as a grand desolate grade mid-rank combat weapon, which was around 1,000 Shinbi. But according to the divine rune's attribute, the price would fluctuate. For example, fire and ice attribute divine runes were the most common, so the divine rune with these attributes would be cheaper, while space attribute divine rune would be more expensive. Yiluan took the Shunbi and nodded. Previously, he and Shiyun had spent 100,000 North Snow coins each to go to the North Snow Royal City to learn from a martial cultivator who had comprehended a complete set of fire divine characters. It took them 7 days to comprehend the fire divine characters, and they had finally comprehended the complete set of fire divine characters, thus fulfilling the basic requirement to break through to the transcendent secret realm. Otherwise, Yi Luan, Qi Yun, and Ziling wouldn't have been able to break through to the secret realm. 100,000 North Snow coins were only equivalent to slightly more than 10 Shinbi. A complete divine rune inscription was more than 100 times more expensive. One could imagine how much wealth Long Yu had given to Yiluan. The entire Heavenly Mandate Manor had only earned a few hundred Shinbi so far, but it was divided among the thousands of people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Of course, it wasn't enough. After giving 5,000 Shinbi to Yi Luan, Long Yu was left with only 50,000 Shinbi. Money is really used up quickly no matter when it is. This is all I can take out for now. If I take any more, I'm afraid I'll be noticed by the people of the Cloud Empire. Long Yu thought to himself. He was going to integrate the 240 crystals of 9 Nether Divine Rune into the buildings of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. That way, even without the outer defensive formation, the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor wouldn't be in danger for a while. Even second-grade Divine Rune crystals were extremely effective in reinforcing a building. At the very least, an ordinary Emperor Realm cultivator wouldn't be able to destroy a building with enough second-grade Divine Rune crystals. A small building only needed 10 second-grade Divine Rune crystals to be sturdy enough to withstand a full-powered attack from an Emperor Realm cultivator. If 22nd-grade Divine Rune crystals were integrated into the building, an Emperor Realm cultivator wouldn't be able to break it no matter what. Divine Rune crystals were created by super experts above the Emperor Realm. In the Divine Battle world, they were almost invincible. Chapter 677. After separating from the others, Long Yu went to the various buildings of the Heavenly Mandate Manor alone, ready to merge the 240 Divine Rune crystals into them. The Armory Pavilion, the Alchemy Hall, the Cultivation Tower, and the residential area were located in the 4 directions of the Central Hall of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. There was 1 building in the Armory Pavilion, 2 in the Alchemy Hall, and only 1 in the Cultivation Tower, which was located in the center of the 20 courtyards in the residential area. These 20 courtyards were the core residential area for the main members of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. As for the thousands of ordinary martial cultivators, they could only live outside the core residential area. There were hundreds and thousands of courtyards. Long Yu didn't have enough Divine Rune crystals to merge with these buildings. Among these buildings, the Armory Pavilion, the Alchemy Hall, and the Cultivation Tower were all small buildings. Only 20 Divine Rune crystals were needed to protect them from the attacks of Emperor Realm cultivators. As for the 20 courtyards in the core residential area, they were very small and couldn't even be considered as standard small buildings. Only 10 Divine Rune crystals were needed to withstand the attacks of Emperor Realm cultivators. Long Yu had 240 Divine Rune crystals. 80 of them were merged into the Armory Pavilion, the Alchemy Hall, and the Cultivation Tower. Even if the other 160 were all merged into the core residential area, it wouldn't be able to make them all impregnable. Forget it. Let's just reinforce the Central Hall. Long Yu thought about it and decided to give up on reinforcing the courtyards in the residential area. If the Heavenly Mandate Manor was really in danger, it wouldn't do for everyone to be trapped in their own courtyards. It was better to gather in the central hall and discuss countermeasures together. The central hall could be regarded as a medium-sized building. Although it was open air, the power of the 9 nether divine characters would be continuously transmitted from the crystal after it was integrated with the 9 nether divine characters. When the whole building was attacked, it would condense into a defensive barrier. 40 divine rune crystals are enough. Long Yu merged 40 divine rune crystals into the central hall. In this way, he had used up a total of 122nd grade divine rune crystals to reinforce the buildings of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. He still had half left. As for the remaining 120 divine rune crystals, they weren't of much use in helping others improve their comprehension of divine runes. Long Yu thought for a moment, and then fused them into the courtyards of some of the core residential areas. Perhaps someone would ambush them while they were resting. If that happened, everyone in the residential area would be in danger. It was better to be prepared. Of course, there were only so many divine rune crystals. Long Yu could only take care of the residences of the core members of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. After Long Yu finished reinforcing the Heavenly Mandate Manor, he explained to Hong Yu. He also told her that if there was an attack from a strong enemy, they could go to the central hall. As long as it was not a strong cultivator of the Imperial Realm, everyone's safety would not be threatened. This made Hong Yu quite shocked. How did Long Yu get this kind of means? Who would have thought that they'd be able to fuse some sort of divine rune crystal into a building and strengthen it to the point where it could withstand an attack from an Emperor Realm cultivator? After Long Yu told Hong Yu, he told her to improve her martial arts as soon as possible. He also told her not to worry about the matters of the manor for a while and to leave it to others. After the two separated, Long Yu returned to the courtyard where he lived in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. His courtyard was located in the core residential area. It was the furthest away from the center and was not too eye-catching. It was a good place for cultivation. He also reinforced his courtyard. After all, his own safety was the first priority. In this way, as long as it wasn't a strong cultivator of the Imperial Realm attacking, it would be impossible to disturb Long Yu's cultivation. The divine rune crystals are really domineering. Long Yu couldn't help but sigh. The divine rune crystals were created by cultivators who had surpassed the Imperial Realm. If there were enough first-class divine rune crystals integrated into a building, then even the attack of a strong cultivator of the Imperial Realm could be completely resisted. For Long Yu, it was enough to resist the attack of an Emperor Realm cultivator. It should be known that the strongest cultivator in the North Snow Empire was only in the Emperor Realm. Even if Yu Hanxin came in person, she would not be able to break through Long Yu's courtyard and the reinforced buildings in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Long Yu returned to his courtyard and took out the Shadow Heaven Stone that he bought for 30,000 Shunbi in the Spring Heavenly Pagoda. It was a treasure of the heavens and earth. Even in the Beyond Heaven world, it was considered a rare cultivation resource. Only martial cultivators with high statuses could afford it, or they had to go through countless perilous situations to get their hands on one. Long Yu didn't think too much about it. He immediately started absorbing the energy within the Shadow Stone. The power within the Umbra Celestial Stone was the purest form of Umbra Divine Runes. Any Umbra Divine Rune, such as the 9 Nether Divine Rune, Death Divine Rune, and Azura Divine Rune that Long Yu comprehended, were all derived from the purest Umbra Divine Rune. This made the Shadow Stone an extremely precious treasure for any martial arts cultivator who comprehended the power of Shadow Divine characters. The effect should be pretty good, Long Yu thought as he absorbed the energy of a Shadow Stone. He could feel the pure Shadow Divine character's energy flowing through his meridians to his dantian. Then, it was gradually absorbed by the divine fruit that had already taken shape in his dantian. When the divine ability seed bloomed and became an innate divine ability, it could be called a divine ability fruit. Long Yu's dantian contained the hand of 9 underworlds, soul seal siphon, and dragon breath of the 9 underworlds. Among the three, the soul, seal, siphon, divine ability fruit had the most tyrannical aura. After absorbing the purest shadow divine character's energy from the shadow stone, the aura of the three divine ability fruits seemed to have become a little richer. Among them, the hand of 9 underworlds divine ability fruit seemed to be on the verge of a breakthrough. However, it was obvious that the shadow stone's energy alone wasn't enough to allow the hand of 9 underworlds divine ability to step into the mid-level divine ability realm. The pure shadow divine character's energy only nourished the 3 divine ability fruits for a moment before it sank deeper into long-used Danteon. This feeling, it's like my compatibility with the shadow divine characters, is about to increase. A bright light flashed in Long-Yu's eyes. He was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect the shadow stone to have such an effect. It wasn't inferior to the improvement that the divine air essence had given him. Right now, his compatibility with the shadow divine characters was at the 4th level. If he increased it again, it would reach the 5th level, which was the lowest requirement to comprehend the divine chain's cultivation method. Within Long-Yu's body, the shadow divine character's energy filled his entire body. His compatibility with the shadow divine characters continued to increase. Soon, it reached a critical point. He felt like he was just one more barrier away from breaking through to the 5th level of compatibility with the shadow divine characters. Break! A pitch-black light shot out from Long-Yu's eyes. It was as if he had just broken out from the depths of hell. His entire body was enveloped in a layer of pure and dense shadow divine characters. As he continued to absorb the shadow divine character's energy, he finally broke through the barrier in his Danteon and reached the 5th level of compatibility with the shadow divine characters. As expected of something that cost 30,000 Shinbi, it allowed Long-Yu to break through the bottleneck of compatibility with the shadow divine characters. If it weren't for the Shadow Stone, he would have to wait until he reached the Emperor Path Arcane Realm before he could reach the 5th level of compatibility with the shadow divine characters. Every time a martial cultivator advanced a realm, their compatibility with the shadow divine characters would also increase by 1 level. Moreover, once they reached the Emperor Path Arcane Realm, they would have a certain level of strength. Normally, it would be easier for them to obtain cultivation resources like the divine air essence and the heaven stones. This also determined that in the Shunwu world, only Emperor Path Arcane Realm cultivators will be able to use the Divine Chains technique. After reaching the 5th level of compatibility with the Shadow Divine characters, not only did it allow Long-Yu to start practicing the Divine Chains technique, it also made his various methods related to the Shadow Divine characters twice as strong as before. My comprehension of the various powers of the Shadow Divine characters is also increasing. Long-Yu sensed the changes in the power within his body, especially the 9 Nether Divine characters. Previously, he had comprehended 50% of the 9 Nether Divine characters through the crystallization of the Divine characters. Now, with the help of the Shadow Stone's energy, his comprehension of the 9 Nether Divine characters had increased to 60%. In addition, the 1% of the Death Divine characters and Azura Divine characters that he had comprehended also began to increase, only stopping when his comprehension reached 10%. Only then did he finish absorbing the Shadow Stone's energy. But the changes and influence this brought to Long-Yu were enormous. Just the Nether Dragon 9 explosions and 9 Nether Heaven Light alone was more than twice as strong as before. Not to mention, he could start practicing the Divine Chains technique. Shu-chan has already learned how to use the Divine Chains, but I don't know when she will return. I can ask her for some pointers, Long-Yu thought to himself. He probably couldn't comprehend the Divine Chains technique by himself. In his opinion, besides Shu-chan, there shouldn't be anyone else that knows how to use this technique. But he obviously forgot that there was an existence like the Death Envoy right next to him. Kiki boy, you finally reached this step. You've reached the 5th level of compatibility with the Shadow Divine characters. The Death Envoy's voice resounded in Long-Yu's ears. Then, a black shadow appeared in Long-Yu's room. floating in the air like a ghost. In fact, the Death Envoy was currently in a remnant soul state, so it wasn't strange for him to condense into a ghost form. Senior Envoy, do you have any advice for me? Long Yu raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile. The Death Envoy wouldn't appear for no reason. For him to suddenly appear next to him, there must be a reason. I do have some advice for you. The Death Envoy's voice was eerie and terrifying, but in Long Yu's ears, it sounded especially amiable. Do you know what kind of existence the divine chains are? Senior Envoy, please enlighten me. Long Yu said respectfully. Of course, he didn't know what the divine chains were. Since this Death Envoy appeared, he definitely wanted to tell him something. At the same time, this Death Envoy also wanted to obtain some benefits. Chapter 678. The Death Messenger then explained the basics of godly chains to Long Yu, giving him a rough idea of what godly chains were. Every type of godly script was the most original power in the world. If it was arranged in a certain order, it could produce all kinds of different effects. Godly chains and godly formations were created by rearranging the structure of the godly script to produce a stronger power. Among them, godly chains required a level 5 compatibility with the godly script, while godly formations required a level 9 compatibility. It was extremely difficult to cultivate godly formations. There were countless ways to arrange godly chains, and each order had a different effect. Moreover, there were different ranks among the different combinations of godly chains. The simplest godly chains were called 9th rank godly chains. Even a cultivator who knew nothing about godly chains could comprehend them all of a sudden. Even though they were the weakest, they were still equivalent to mastering a lower rank Great Desolate martial skill. For ordinary King Path Secret Realm cultivators, even a lower rank Great Desolate martial skill was extremely rare. Therefore, for most ordinary King Realm cultivators, godly chains were the strongest skills they had. If innate godly skills were included in the comparison, one would need at least a middle rank godly skill, which was equivalent to mastering the 4th rank godly skill, in order to reach the power of the simplest 9th rank godly chains. Above the 9th rank godly chains were the 8th rank godly chains and the 7th rank godly chains. These 3 ranks of godly chains were called low-rank godly chains, and their power was comparable to a Great Desolate martial skill. Even the 7th rank godly chains were only equivalent to mastering an upper-rank Great Desolate martial skill to the transformative realm. However, if there was a way to obtain the 6th rank godly chains and finish cultivating them, the strength and power of the 6th rank godly chains would at least be equivalent to an ancient martial skill. In other words, the 4th, 5th, and 6th rank godly chains could be compared to an ancient martial skill, which was equivalent to Long Yu's 9 Underworld Light. A cultivator's overall strength was determined by many factors. The cultivation level was the foundation, and it determined the cultivator's basic strength. Other than that, martial skills, weapons, innate skills, divine chains, the level of comprehension of divine symbols, the degree of compatibility, and so on would all affect the cultivator's battle prowess. Although Long Yu's martial arts realm was relatively low, no matter if it was his comprehension of divine runes, synchronization, martial skills, or combat weapons, they were all far superior to ordinary transcendent mystic realm martial cultivators. This was also the reason why he could challenge those who were at a higher realm than him. As for innate mystiques, Long Yu had only comprehended one mid-tier mystique, which was not very powerful. However, because he had reached the 5th level of compatibility with the divine characters, his 4th-tier mystique was comparable to an ordinary 6th-tier mystique. Even so, Long Yu was still not satisfied. He wanted to become stronger. Since he couldn't quickly advance his martial path, then he had to cultivate a decent divine chain technique. In his opinion, he had at least reached the mid-tier divine chain technique. Mid-tier divine chains? After hearing Long Yu's words, the Death Messenger snorted. Do you think that mid-tier divine chains are cabbages that could be easily obtained? Plus, even with your talent, it would take you at least a few months to cultivate a complete set of mid-tier divine chains. You don't have the time for that right now. Indeed. Long Yu's face darkened. Right now, the most important thing for him to do was to participate in the Imperial Capital Festival, which would start in less than a month. He believed that the Death Messenger definitely had a mid-tier divine chain technique, but it was not suitable for him right now. I will teach you a low-tier divine chain technique. This is a 7th rank divine chain. If you can successfully cultivate it, its power will be equivalent to a transcendent realm upper desolate martial skill, the Death Envoy suggested. And most importantly, if you directly choose mid-level divine chains, I'm afraid it won't be that easy to understand. Primary divine chains are the foundation, and there are even some martial arts geniuses who are able to find the rules of the combination of divine characters from primary divine chains and create their own divine chains. These are the true experts. You don't need to provoke me. 7th rank divine chains will do. Long Yu shook his head. Here you go. This 7th grade god chain is the god chain art that the Lord Dragon Emperor of the 9 Abyss first cultivated. He spent a month to completely comprehend it. Let me see how long you need. The Death Messenger threw a jade tag towards Long Yu. The jade tag recorded the cultivation method of the 7th rank divine chain, spectral spiral. Long Yu received the jade strip and immersed his mind into it. As for the purpose of the Death Envoy, he was too lazy to guess. Perhaps the Death Envoy just wanted to see his true martial arts talent, and from there, decide his attitude towards him. Spectral Spiral, 7th rank divine chain. In Shunwu world, a normal Emperor Path secret realm cultivator could only cultivate 8th rank divine chains, or even 9th rank divine chains that they had comprehended themselves. The cultivation method of 7th rank divine chains was extremely valuable in Shunwu world. Only an Emperor Realm cultivator like Yu Hanxin could possibly have it. Spectral Spiral gathered the power of the shadow divine characters into a spiral shape and condensed it into a strange pattern. This pattern would constantly emit the power of the shadow divine characters and entangle all enemies within its range. A cultivator who was affected by the spectral spiral would have their power flow become extremely sluggish. This would cause their flying speed and the speed and efficiency of any martial skills to be greatly reduced. In the time it took to perform 10 martial skills, after being affected by the spectral spiral, one would only be able to perform 1 martial skill. This divine chain technique was practically made for Long Yu. If the Royal Capital Grand Meeting was a one-on-one battle, then he wouldn't be afraid of anyone other than the King Realm Young Geniuses. If the rule of the Royal Capital Grand Meeting was a group battle, then this spectral spiral would be a godly skill. Divine chains weren't like martial skills, which could be learned at the beginning, reached minor success, and then gradually deepened to perfection. Divine chains could be learned in one go, but there wouldn't be any room for improvement after that. Normally speaking, it was much easier to completely comprehend divine chains compared to martial skills of the same power. If the same amount of time was used to comprehend martial skills, they would only be able to reach perfection or even peak. Of course, martial techniques had their own advantages over divine chains. That was, every time a martial technique comprehended a deeper level of profoundness, there would be some special effects. A single martial technique could be used in several different ways, making it more flexible. Cultivating divine chains wasn't something that could be done in a short amount of time. Long Yu decided that for the next month, he would cultivate divine chains at night and do other things during the day, just like Juyo Dragon Emperor did back then. This way, he would be able to compare his cultivation speed with Juyo Dragon Emperor's. As for what he would do during the day, there were many things to do. With the help of the Shadow Heavenly Stone, his first innate technique, the Hand of 9 Serenities, was on the verge of a breakthrough. If he could make it a mid-level technique, it would be even more useful. During the day, Long Yu went to the martial arts arena of the Heavenly Mandate Manor to find Man Xian, Yi Luan, and the others who had entered the secret realm of spells to spar with each other. Not only could he familiarize himself with his own martial skills and innate techniques, but he could also consolidate the improvement that the Shadow Heavenly Stone had given him. He could also train Yiluan and the others in the secret realm of spells in actual combat. Only Qiao Ziying and Nanmen Xia could stimulate Long Yu's progress. In the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor, only these two girls from the Crack 2 squad could pose a threat to Long Yu. 9 Serenity's Heavenly Light. Minor success. Long Yu quickly mastered the 9 Serenity's Heavenly Light, which he had been learning for a long time, and derived another way to use it, Shadow Release. After using Shadow Release, Long Yu's speed would be comparable to that of the Ghostly Light, and he could travel hundreds of miles in an instant. This speed was several times faster than the dance of the Dragon Sparrow that he had practiced before. Therefore, Long Yu did not plan to continue practicing Wu Long's dance of the Sparrow. It was time to eliminate this movement technique that was only at the black level. Of course, the Dragon Sparrow Flash, which was derived from the dance of the Dragon Sparrow, was quite good as a defensive martial arts technique. It had saved Long Yu many times. After cultivating the 9 Nether Heavenly Light to the small success stage, Long Yu's instantaneous burst of speed had reached an extremely terrifying degree. Even a King Realm expert would not be able to catch up to Long Yu when he had instantaneous burst of speed. One had to know that this was an ancient top-grade martial arts technique, the 9 Serenity's Heavenly Light. For the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor, this was an extremely common martial arts technique. After Qiao Ziying and Nanmen Xia arrived at the Heavenly Mandate Manor, they felt quite good. Not only could they go to the cultivation tower to practice every day, but they could also double their cultivation speed. Even when they lived in the courtyard, there were all kinds of matrices that gathered the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, which increased the cultivation speed of martial arts practitioners by 50%. The effect of the cultivation tower was quite good. There were only a few dozen rooms. Because Qiao Ziying and Nanmen Xia were honored guests, they had the right to practice in the cultivation tower, which made many disciples of the Heavenly Mandate Manor envious. For ordinary martial arts practitioners of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, if they wanted to go to the cultivation tower to practice, they could only exchange for the contribution points of the manor. The contribution points of the manor were mainly obtained from 2 aspects. One was the realm of martial arts, and the other was by donating property. The higher the realm of martial arts, and the higher the cultivation, the more contribution points of the manor would be automatically obtained. As for donating property, as the name suggested, one could donate money or cultivation resources to the Heavenly Mandate Manor, and one could also obtain a lot of contribution points. Among them, the members of the Weapon Refinement Pavilion and the Alchemy Hall generally had higher contribution points. I feel that I am about to break through. After 7 days in the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Qiao Ziying found Long Yu and told Long Yu that she seemed to want to break through. This is a good thing. Why did you come to me? It was early in the morning, and Long Yu had practiced the divine chains all night. He was about to get up and go to the training field. Seeing that Qiao Ziying was looking for him, he couldn't help but smile. I came to thank you. Qiao Ziying's face was slightly red. If you hadn't provided me with so many cultivation resources, it would have taken me at least half a year to break through to the 6 Realms Divine Power Realm. You are welcome. Since you are willing to help our manor, then you are one of us. Long Yu shook his head and patted the girl's shoulder. Go and practice in seclusion. Remember to come and fight with me when you break through. Okay. Qiao Ziying nodded, turned around, and left with a smile. Long Yu looked at her back and was quite pleased. He had ordered Hong Yu to give Qiao Ziying many cultivation resources of earth, heaven, and even desolate level. This girl did not disappoint him. Chapter 679. There was still half a month before the grand event of the imperial capital began. Long Yu called Hong Yu, Qiao Ziying, and Man Xian to the central hall of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. It seemed that they had something to discuss. The rules of the imperial capital grand event are out. Long Yu said with a serious look. This morning, Silver Fox King came to me and gave me this jade scroll. What are the rules? Are they good for us? Hong Yu asked nervously. Ever since they left Heavenly Mandate Island and came to the heavenly mandate manor of the North Snow Empire. Hong Yu seemed to have been reborn. For her, the heavenly mandate manor was the fruit of her labor. She could not bear to see the manor being taken back by the North Snow Empire. Take a look for yourselves. Long Yu handed the jade scroll to Hong Yu and let her read it first. Actually, the theme of every grand meeting in the imperial capital would never change, and that was to compete in the martial arts practice field. The younger generation of over 200 factions would compete to determine who would emerge victorious. Although the specific rules were different every year, that was the general situation. This year was no exception. Within the boundaries of the North Snow Empire, there were a total of 122 manors. There were 76 manors and forces in the capital, all of which were powerful forces of the North Snow Empire. In addition to the 198 forces participating, there were also dozens of young people from the North Snow Empire and dozens of counties in the North Snow Empire. These young people from the County King's manors did not feel as pressured as those from the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Even if they lost, or even came last, there would be no shame and no loss. However, the young cultivators from the 58 counties were indeed an important part of this Imperial Capital Grand Event. The rules of this Imperial Capital Grand Event are that 256 teams will participate together. Each team is composed of young geniuses from various forces. Each team will send 10 people to participate. Hong Yu began to read the contents of the Jade Scroll, and her eyebrows gradually knitted together. On the first day, we will draw lots. 2 teams of 10 will fight one after another. If all 10 of them are defeated, they will lose. The ranking will be calculated according to the points. The calculation of the points was very simple. When the Imperial Capital Grand Event began, each force would send a representative to draw lots and choose to fight with a team of 10 from another force. If they won, they would get 10 points. If they were on the losing side, then the number of points they would be able to obtain by defeating a few people from the other side in this battle of attrition would determine how many points they could obtain. This was the first round of the grand meet of the Imperial Capital, and it was likely that the weaker factions would be eliminated. The factions with fewer points would naturally be weaker. After the first round, there would be no second round. Instead, there would be a battle that most people would like to see, which 3 manor forces would be at the bottom. The manor forces with the fewest points would be eliminated. If they had the same number of points, then the rules of the first round would be followed, and the manor forces with the same number of points would have to compete again. In this round, the 8 manors of the North Snow Empire forces with cultivators from the secret realms of the Yu Empire are all eliminated. If there is a battle force with the 4 manors, the 4 Snow Prefecture manors, they are the same. The first will. In the first round of drawing lots, the 8 manors of the North Snow Empire and the 4 manors of the North Snow Empire with cultivators from the secret realms of the North Snow Empire are all excluded. That is to say, we will at most meet 7 Divine Realms opponents. Hong Yu raised her head with a happy expression. She looked at Long Yu and said, "Manor Master Long, in this case, it is very likely that we will not be at the bottom." She knew Long Yu's real strength. Even the 3 subordinates of the Soaring Fog Manor with 5 Divine Realms were defeated by Long Yu alone. This showed how strong Long Yu was. Not to mention now, she could clearly feel that Long Yu's strength had become stronger than before. He must have a great chance of winning against 7 Divine Realms opponents. It's hard to say. Let's see who the opponent is. Long Yu shook his head. He did not dare to guarantee anything. Even if it was not difficult for him to deal with 7 Divine Realms opponents, who knew what kind of monstrous geniuses existed in the circle of the North Snow Empire? After all, Long Yu was only in the 3 Divine Realms. Compared to the cultivators in the 7 Divine Realms, his basic strength was dozens of times weaker. Even if he could defeat his opponent, it would be very difficult. Moreover, the people who would appear in the grand event of the Imperial Capital were all young geniuses. There is no doubt that most of them had comprehended the complete engravings of the divine glyphs. This was a situation that did not exist in the battles that Long Yu had faced before. Every opponent would be very strong. If he was not careful, he could be defeated by his opponent. Long Yu planned to be the first to fight. Once he was defeated, only Qiao Xing would be able to hold the fort. The other people of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, such as Man Xian, Yi Luan, and Fenyu Xian, could not deal with opponents that were too strong for the time being. Man Xian might be a little stronger, but it was already the limit for him to deal with 5 Divine Realms cultivators. Therefore, Long Yu was bound to win. If the opponent was stronger, Long Yu could still choose to fight steadily and let Qiao Xing fight first to exhaust his opponent's energy. Of course, the exact situation would depend on the opponent that they would draw. Since it was a battle of attrition, they had to make good use of the advantage of the rules. When facing a strong opponent that they could not defeat, they could choose to exhaust their opponent first. This was the flexibility of the rules of the grand event of the imperial capital. It was already relatively fair to use the rules to determine the top 3 manors. Let's talk about the next battle in detail. Long Yu pulled everyone back from their thoughts. The ranking of the entire grand event of the imperial capital was determined by points. In the first round, half of the teams from the forces would be able to get 10 points. Therefore, the real gap between them would be in the second round. The rules of the second round would be a mixed battle of 16 people. Each of the 256 forces would send 1 young cultivator. There would be a total of 256 people. They would draw lots and be divided into groups of 16. In total, there would be 16 groups, and 16 mixed battles would take place. In this mixed battle, the young cultivators from the King's Path secret lands would also participate in the draw. That was to say, in the second round, it was very likely that they would meet the strong cultivators from the King's Path secret lands. In the 16-man battle royale, the last person standing would get 16 points, the second to last person would get 14 points, and so on and so forth. The first 8 people would get points, and the first 8 people to be eliminated would not get any points. After the mixed battle of the second round, the gap between the forces was not small. The third round would be the most influential round in the entire Imperial Capital Grand Event. This third round was also the main point that Long Yu wanted to discuss with Hong Yu. The rules of the third round are that each force will send 3 people to form a team. They will draw lots 3 times and fight against the teams of 3 from other forces. There will be a total of 3 battles. Hong Yu continued, the 3 battles of the teams of 3 will be against different opponents. The winner will get 10 points, and the loser will get no points. The most important thing in this round is that the strongest young cultivator of each force is not allowed to participate in the battle. After saying that, Hong Yu raised her head and looked at Long Yu with some doubt in her eyes. Long Yu knew what she meant. Ahem, according to what I think, the strongest young cultivator should be calculated according to the martial Dao realm. Long Yu coughed and said according to what he understood. In other words, Miss Qiao Xing can't participate in the 3 battles of the third round. As long as Long Yu is not allowed to participate in the battle, the situation was not bad. Although Long Yu's martial Dao realm was relatively low, his comprehensive strength surpassed Qiao Xing's, and even reached the level of the 7 Dao divinity realm. This third round was very important. In the first 2 rounds, each force could only get 26 points at most, but in this third round, if they won all 3 battles, they could get 30 points. Although there was still a 4th and 5th round, after the first 3 rounds, the final result could basically be seen. If they did not perform well in the first 3 rounds, it was basically impossible to catch up in the next 2 rounds. Therefore, in this third round, Long Yu had to plan carefully. If Qiao Xing can't participate in the battle, there are not many people in our Heavenly Mandate Manor who can participate in the battle, Hong Yu said in a low voice. The big barbarian is one. He should be able to step into the 2 Dao divinity realm before the Imperial Capital Grand event begins. As for his real combat strength, it should be around the 5 Dao divinity realm. The great barbarian she spoke of was naturally Man Xian. Man Xian stood aside and agreed with her. My 7 devilish blades have become a mid-level magic power, and I have comprehended 50% of the divine rune of demon. My strength is much stronger than 3 months ago. Long Yu knew about Man Xian's situation. The divine rune of demon was the complete power of the divine rune that he had comprehended from the ruins of the windstorm demonic blade. After comprehending 50% of it, he had definitely far surpassed martial arts cultivators of the same level. It was not an exaggeration to say that he had reached the level of the 5 Tao divinity realm. As for the devil extinguishing 7 blades, it was only natural for him to comprehend a mid-grade sacred art. Man Xion's heavenly tribulation wasn't bad, although the sacred art seed in his Danteon couldn't compare to Long Yu's death god's sacred art seed. It was still enough for him to comprehend a sacred art at the 2nd heavenly layer. With a little effort, he could make the innate magic power become a mid-level magic power. I think so too. Long Yu nodded and glanced at the 3 people in the field. However, apart from the barbarian, we still need one more person to form a team of 3. Who do you think is better? His question was mainly directed at Hong Yu and Man Xian. Xiao Xing was not familiar with the people of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, so she would not express any opinion. Both of them were stumped by Long Yu's question. In the Heavenly Mandate Manor, apart from Long Yu, Xiao Xing, and Man Xian, who else was strong enough? Not a single one. The rules of the Grand Gathering in the imperial capital had spread throughout the entire North Snow Empire in a short amount of time. The young experts who had set off from the faraway regional king's mansions had already arrived at the North Snow Empire one after another, finding a place to stay. In a short time, the number of martial arts cultivators in the entire North Snow Empire soared, and it was easier to see young cultivators than usual. The grand event of the North Snow Empire was a grand event for the young generation of martial arts cultivators in the entire North Snow Empire. Even some martial arts cultivators in the Jianghu would travel thousands of miles to watch. Many places in the North Snow Empire had already started gambling, mainly to bet on which 3 manor forces would be at the bottom and be eliminated in this grand event. Chapter 680. In the North Snow Empire, setting up a gambling house was a very common thing. Especially during the grand event of the royal capital every year, there would be countless gambling houses. The main bets were on which 3 manors would be eliminated, as well as which forces would obtain a higher ranking. In several gambling houses in the North Snow dynasty, a black-robed youth came one after another today. He actually bet on the Heavenly Mandate Manor, betting that the Heavenly Mandate Manor would stand out and enter the top 100 of the 256 forces. This was simply ridiculous. Everyone knew the situation of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. 3 months ago, the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor only had 1 or 2 martial arts cultivators in the secret realm of divinity. Even now, there were no more than 10 martial arts cultivators in the secret realm of divinity. Although the Manor Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Long Yu, was valued by Yuhan Xin, he only had the cultivation of 3 realms of divinity. It was said that he had invited a female martial arts cultivator in the Jianghu who had 5 realms of divinity as a helper. However, if that was all there was to it, it was impossible for them to escape the fate of elimination. Among the 256 forces participating in the Imperial Capital Grand Event, which force did not have cultivators in the 7 realms of divinity below the age of 30. Even the weaker teams from the manors of the County Kings were much stronger than the Heavenly Mandate Manor. It should be known that even in the original Azura County, there were cultivators of the younger generation like Tian Yueha, who had even entered the secret realm of divinity before the age of 30. Although Tian Yueha died under the Azura sacred tree, it was an accident. Not every genius would encounter an accident. In the manors of the County Kings in the North Snow dynasty, there were also such young geniuses. Everyone recognized that the person who had gone to the major gambling houses to bet on the Heavenly Mandate Manor to enter the top 100 was the Manor Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Long Yu. The news spread quickly, and people laughed even more. These 3 kids in the divinity realm wanted to lead the Heavenly Mandate Manor into the top 100 of the 256 forces? This was simply a dream. Although some time ago, people from the Qinyang house had gone to the Heavenly Mandate Manor to make trouble, and a lackey with 7 divine powers was killed, No one thought that the Heavenly Mandate Manor would be that strong. Qinyang Manor had already investigated and found out that it wasn't Long Yu who killed their lackey, but two foreign female cultivators. Both of them were at 5 levels of divine ability realm, and they had to work together to kill their lackey, who was at 7 levels. One of the two female cultivators from the Jianghu world was already over 30 years old and could not participate in the grand event in the imperial capital. In that case, the strongest cultivator from the Heavenly Mandate Manor in the imperial capital was just a female cultivator in the 5 paths of divinity realm. This bit of threat was not taken seriously at all. Moreover, the subordinate who was killed in the Qinyang Manor was considered the weakest among the 7 divinity realm cultivators. On the other hand, the young geniuses who were about to participate in the royal capital grand meet had all comprehended the complete divine runes. The Qinyang house naturally would not let the matter rest after one of their subordinates was killed by the Heavenly Mandate Manor. However, they did not act rashly and waited for the royal capital grand meet to begin. Once the royal capital grand meet was over, the Heavenly Mandate Manor would be taken back by the North Snow dynasty. Then, all the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor would be chased out of the manor. In that case, the North Snow dynasty would not care what the Qinyang house did to these people. That would be the perfect time for them to take revenge. There were 3 days left before the royal capital grand meet began. Long Yu took 10,000 divine coins and went to the major casinos in the North Snow imperial capital to bet that the Heavenly Mandate Manor would enter the top 100 of the royal capital grand meet. This was an open bet. If Long Yu won, he would receive more than 100,000 divine coins. No one was optimistic about the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Therefore, apart from Long Yu, there were very few who bet that the Heavenly Mandate Manor would enter the top 100. Even if there were, it was just a casual bet. What if a miracle happened? There was never a lack of speculators in the world. After seeing Long Yu bet on the Heavenly Mandate Manor, there were many others who bet thousands of divine coins on the Heavenly Mandate Manor to try their luck. They thought that this Long Yu would not be so stupid as to purposely come to the casino and give away 10,000 divine coins to others, right? Perhaps the Heavenly Mandate Manor was hiding some kind of power. The reason why Long Yu only took out 10,000 divine coins was that he was still worried that the people from the Cloud Empire would come to him. It would make sense if 10,000 divine coins appeared in his hands, but it would arouse suspicion if he took out more. However, after the Imperial Capital Grand Meet, the bet would be over. As long as the Heavenly Mandate Manor entered the top 100, Long Yu would no longer have to hide it. As long as he won this bet, he would receive at least 100,000 divine coins. There were too many people betting on the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Even if only a small portion of them paid attention to the Heavenly Mandate Manor and placed bets on the Heavenly Mandate Manor being eliminated, all of the money would belong to Long Yu. 100,000 divine coins was still considered a small amount. I've finally broken through. Just today, Man Xian stepped into the 2 paths divine realm and comprehended the second innate spell. His strength was much stronger than before. This further enhanced the overall strength of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Xiaoxing also stepped into the 6 paths divine realm. Our Heavenly Mandate Manor is even more confident of entering the top 100 in this Imperial Capital Grand Meet. Long Yu came to the martial arts arena and watched Man Xian and Fenyu Xian sparring. There was a glint of joy in his eyes. Not only that, during this time, many people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor entered the secret realm one after another. Han Yu entered the secret realm not long ago. Although she could not participate in the Imperial Capital Grand Meet, this was naturally good news for Long Yu. Apart from her, Lu Yuan, Feng Xiaofei, Bu Bu, and Yan Huama also entered the secret realm and comprehended the innate spell. Among them, Bu Fu and Yan Huan Mo had comprehended the complete divine rune of death, and they were members of the Death Legion formed by Long Yu. With their talent and abundant cultivation resources, it was normal for them to step into the transcendent realm. As for Lu Yuan and Feng Xiaofei, Long Yu had given each of them 3,000 Xinbi and told them to purchase a complete set of divine runes that were compatible with them. Lu Yuan's compatibility with the divine rune of space was relatively rare. If she was allowed to mature, she would definitely become a powerhouse. On the other hand, Feng Xiaofei's compatibility with the Berserker divine rune was the same as Lu Yuan's. Both of them were relatively rare. Thus, the divine runes of these two attributes were relatively expensive. 3,000 divine runes. After buying the divine runes, there wouldn't be much left. In this way, the Heavenly Mandate Manor could participate in the Imperial Capital Grand Meet. Long Yu, Qiao Xing, and Man XN were undoubtedly the main force of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Apart from the three of them, there were 6 others who had just entered the Secret Realm. Yiluan, Lu Yuan, Feng Xiaofei, and Fenyu XN, Bu Bu, and Yin Huanma from the Death Legion were not strong, but they could make up the numbers in the first round. There were 9 people in total, and they were still missing one. If no one else entered the Secret Realm in the end, it seemed that they would have to choose someone from the Heavenly being Secret Realm to make up the numbers. Long Yu stood at the edge of the martial arts field, watching Man Xian and Fenyu Xian's battle. He gave some advice from time to time. Fenyu Xian comprehended the divine character of death, which was the same as Long Yu's. Long Yu comprehended it earlier than her, so he was qualified to give some advice. Fenyu Xian, who had just entered the Secret Realm, was no match for Man Xian. Even if Man Xian did not use the stormy demonic blade, a desolate level weapon, he could still completely suppress Fenyu Xian. Haha, Sister Yu Xian, you are still no match for me. Man Xian fought with no regard for his life. Even if it was just a sparring session, he fought like a madman. Demon Sealing Divine runes burst out from his body. This was the innate ability he had comprehended after stepping into the second path, Transcendent Realm, Demon Sealing Imprint. The pitch-black power of the divine character of Demon Sealing condensed into a mysterious hexagonal seal in the air, pressing down on Fenyu Xian. Fenyu Xian, who was already exhausted, could not withstand it. She could only smile bitterly and admit defeat. Man Xian withdrew the seal of Demon Sealing and said, "I haven't really tried the power of my seal of Demon Sealing, then let me have a try with you." Suddenly, a familiar voice came from the sky. It was clear and crisp, and everyone in the martial arts field was stunned, especially Man Xian. When he heard the voice, his face lit up with joy. He raised his head and laughed. "Kiddo Qihua, I didn't expect you to come back." Long Yu raised his head and saw Qihua, who had been training outside. However, Qihua, the little fox demon, had now transformed into a handsome young man. Behind Qihua were Hong Yu, who had gone to greet him, and another sweet young girl. "Hey, Xiaohua, did you bring that pretty girl back?" Man Xian pointed at the sweet girl who was flying with Hong Yu and asked Qihua, who was gradually landing on the practice field. "She's my friend, Huomei. She comes from the Heaven Fire Fox tribe of the Heaven Fire Prefecture." Qihua landed on the martial art practice grounds and introduced Man Xian. Then, he raised his head and looked at Long Yu. "Big brother Long, it's been a long time since we last met. I never thought that you would already have 3 divine power realm. You are still faster than me. You are not bad either. You have reached the 2 divine realms, which is beyond my expectation." Long Yu smiled and jumped onto the field. He stepped forward and hugged Qihua. Qihua, Man Xian, Yin Huanma, and the others were selected to enter the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. Now, Yin Huanma and the others had just entered the Divine Secret Realm. Only Man Xian and Qihua were slightly stronger. Man Xian had obtained the inheritance of the stormy demonic blade, which was why he had such strength today. However, Qi was training outside was no less than Man Xian's. He even brought back a girl in the 6 divine realms. Indeed, the girl from the Heaven Fire Fox tribe, Huomei, was a demonic cultivator in the 6 divine realms. She looked no more than 30 years old. Of course, Long Yu would not ask her to fight for the Heavenly Mandate Manor as soon as they met. After all, Huomei was from the Heaven Fire County. The Heaven Fire County was one of the 58 county kings' mansions in the North Snow Dynasty. This time, it would also participate in the Imperial Capital event. The Heaven Fire Fox tribe was in charge of the Heaven Fire County. It was a county king's mansion with a majority of demonic cultivators. Chapter 681. Long Yu was surprised by Hoa Mayer's blushing. He didn't expect this beautiful girl of the Skyfire Fox clan to be so shy. Manzi, we'll talk about the sparring later. After hugging Long Yu, Chiwa punched Man Xian's chest and said, I have something to tell you about Mayer. If you and everyone else don't like it, then I'll take Mayer and leave the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Why are you leaving all of a sudden? Man Xian scolded. You brought a girl back. What's wrong with that? Manzi, let's hear what little Hua has to say first. Long Yu frowned and stopped Man Xian from getting angry. He looked at Chihua and said, Don't worry. No matter what, the Heavenly Mandate Manor is your home. Even though you said that, Chihua smiled bitterly. To put it simply, the people of the Skyfire County and the Skyfire Fox clan are currently hunting me and Hua Mei. If we stay here, we might bring danger to the manor. Hunting? What do you mean? Long Yu looked at Hua Mei and asked in confusion. After I came to the North Snow Dynasty, I didn't stay too long in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. I quickly went out to train. I heard that the Skyfire Fox clan was in the Skyfire County, so I went there. Chihua began to explain. In the Skyfire County, I met Mayer and became good friend with her. But I also learned that the elders of the Skyfire Fox clan were forcing her to marry someone she didn't like. After saying that, Chihua glanced at Mayer, then looked at Long Yu, Mayer, and I escaped. We came here to bid farewell to everyone. From now on, I'm afraid, Mayer, and I will have to go to another country. Obviously, Chihua was afraid of bringing trouble to the Heavenly Mandate Manor, so he didn't want to stay there. He wanted to elope with Hua Mei-er. Of course, Chihua said that he was friends with Hua Mei-er, but from the look in their eyes, it was obvious that the two little demon foxes had fallen in love. Although Chihua was only at the second Path Divine Power Realm, that was because he was born on Heavenly Mandate Island and started too late. His true spirit was a nine-tailed true spirit. This true spirit was not only a true spirit, but it also contained the power of the Heavenly Fire Divine Text. The Skyfire Fox clan was one of the main branches of the Fox clan in Shenwu World. It was very rare for a flaming nine-tailed true spirit to appear among them. Even among the branches of the Skyfire Fox clan in the North Snow Empire, it had been several hundred years since one had appeared. It's easy to imagine how powerful Chihua will become after he matures, far surpassing any other beast cultivator in Shenwu World. The Heavenly Fire Divine characters that came from his source were no joke. This was a divine character power on the same level as Long Yu's 9 Nether Divine characters, and it was even more tyrannical than a complete divine character inscription. Thinking about it this way, it was completely normal for Hua Mei-er to fall for Chihua. Of course, the two of them had similar personalities, which was the main reason why they were able to be together. Are the strongest in the Skyfire County the King Realm Demon Cultivators? Long Yu asked after listening to Chihua's story. That's right. The Skyfire Fox clan has a total of 4 elders of the secret plane of the King Path, and they are all in the King Realm. There are no Emperor Realm Cultivators, Chihua answered with a serious expression. However, in the entire Skyfire County, besides the 4 kings of the Skyfire Fox clan, there are 4 other cultivators of the secret plane of the King Path, 2 demon cultivators and 2 human cultivators. Their relationship with the Skyfire Fox clan is not very harmonious. I understand. Long Yu nodded. I don't think you need to elope. Just stay in our Heavenly Mandate Manor. The Imperial Capital Grand Festival is just around the corner, and no one would dare to cause trouble in the North Snow Imperial Capital at this time. But the Skyfire Fox clan and the Clouds Now Fox clan will definitely target your manor at the Imperial Capital Grand Festival. Well, Mayor, you finally spoke. She looked at Long Yu, her naturally charming eyes filled with worry. I heard from Chihua that the heavenly mandate manor can't withstand any storms right now. The Clouds Now Fox clan was the clan that the Skyfire Fox clan wanted to marry Huameir. When the time came, they would definitely join forces with the Skyfire Fox clan to target Chi-Hua and Huameir. Little Hua, how can you say that? Man Xian was not happy to hear this. In this Imperial Capital Grand Festival, the Heavenly Mandate Manor can at least get into the top 100. Do you believe me? How can this be called being unable to withstand any storms? Chi-Hua smiled bitterly. I just don't want to cause trouble for everyone, do I? It's your business. How can it be called trouble? Long Yu patted Chi-Hua on the shoulder, smiled, and said, Stay here. At the Imperial Capital Grand Festival, we can fight together. As for the people of the Skyfire Fox clan, they can't be strong in the Imperial Capital Grand Festival, can they? What if they want to take Mayor back? What should we do? Chi-Hua asked. The two brothers, Gu Wenshan and Gu Yixian, should be here soon. At that time, they can protect our people, and there won't be any problems. Long Yu smiled casually and said, Of course, I will give them 5,000 divine coins as protection fee. Secret plane cultivators of the Emperor's Way, especially strong ones of the King Realm, were not easy to find, especially when they were brave enough to face the Skyfire Fox clan and the Clouds Now Fox clan. Some martial arts cultivators of the secret plane of the Emperor's Way, even if they had enough divine coins to hire them, would not be willing to get involved. Moreover, Long Yu would not trust those people. Therefore, only by inviting Gu Yixian over could Long Yu be at ease. Gu Yixian had comprehended the complete inscription of the divine runes, and he had an upper-grade desolate grade longsword. His strength was extremely strong, even close to the level of the Emperor realm. With Gu Yixian guarding them, the Skyfire Fox clan and the Clouds Now Fox clan could not fight head-on. Once they started fighting, it would be impossible to determine the winner quickly. Once the law enforcement team of the North Snow Dynasty was attracted, both sides would be stopped. During the meeting, Yu Hanxin had strictly ordered that no conflict between forces was allowed in the entire North Snow Imperial City. Otherwise, it would be unseemly for so many forces to gather in the North Snow Imperial City to cause trouble. With Yu Hanxin's order, even if the Skyfire Fox clan and the Clouds Now Fox clan wanted to capture Huameir, they could not do so in broad daylight. When it was time to rest, Huameir only needed to stay in the courtyard reinforced by the divine runes, and she would be completely at ease. Huameir stared at the scene in front of her in astonishment. As a powerful fox beast of the Six Paths Divinity realm, her full strength attack had not been able to damage the courtyard in front of her at all. Do you believe me now? Long Yu smiled as he followed behind. I've reinforced these buildings with a special method. Even an Emperor Realm cultivator won't be able to break through. Unless an Emperor Realm cultivator comes personally, no one will be able to break through. Amazing. Chi-Hua, who was beside Huameir, also had a look of admiration on his face. He was finally convinced by Long Yu's methods. As expected of Long Yu, he had such a terrifying method of reinforcing buildings. I heard that only the Alliance of Five Emperors have such a method. I did not expect to see it here. A shrewd look flashed in Huameir's eyes. In that case, Chi-Hua, let's stay here. As for the upcoming meeting in the Imperial City, we can also represent the Heavenly Mandate Manor. If we draw lots against the Skyfire County or the Clouds Now County, we must teach them a lesson. With just us, I'm afraid it's not enough. Chi-Hua was a little puzzled. Even if you join us, we do not have a cultivator of the Seven Paths Divinity realm. It will not be easy to deal with the Skyfire County and the Clouds Now County. Why do you have so little confidence in your brother Long? Huameir smiled and looked at Long Yu. Our brother Long has a method of reinforcing buildings. How can his strength be measured by 3 divine realms? According to my estimation, Brother Long's true strength is definitely stronger than mine. This girl was so knowledgeable that Long Yu was a little surprised. After getting to know her, Huameir's personality was quite cheerful. She was even better at talking than Chi-Hua. Chi-Hua, this little fox, came from a small place after all. He was much less knowledgeable than Huameir. Humayr had even heard that the alliance of 5 emperors had a method of reinforcing buildings. This made Long Yu ponder. He thought that the alliance of 5 emperors' method was most likely learned from the wood gods and other exotic beasts. As for the divine text crystals, they must have been taken from the exotic beasts. Of course, there could be other sources. As the strongest organization in the Shunwu world, it was hard to say that the alliance of 5 emperors did not have any connections with outer space. Since you have decided to stay, we can decide who will participate in the meeting in the Imperial City. Long Yu smiled. Me, Qiao Ziying, and Hua Mei-er can be considered the main force. Qihua should also participate in the first round. In the second round, I will participate in the group battle of the strongest. In the third round, we need to eliminate one of the strongest. It depends on which of us the North Snow Empire eliminates. Hua Mei-er and I are both in the 6 Realms Divine Power Realm. It should be one of us who will not be allowed to participate in the third round. Qiao Ziying speculated. No matter what, we definitely have enough people. With Hua Mei-er's participation, I am much more confident in the third round. Long Yu said with a smile. The participation of Hua Mei-er and Qihua indeed made Long Yu feel relieved. At least the matter of the candidates for the meeting in the Imperial City was settled. However, the situation that the Heavenly Mandate Manor had to face next was much more serious. There were 2 more powerful forces, the Heavenly Firefox clan and the Lingxue Fox clan, as enemies. Of course, to say that these 2 forces were powerful was nothing more than that. As for the cultivators of the King Realm, Long Yu no longer needed to look up to them like before. Even if he were to fight one-on-one with a cultivator of the King Realm, he was confident that he could hold his opponent back for at least 30 minutes. Because just last night, Long Yu had already completely cultivated the 7th grade divine chain, the Phantom Spiral. It took him more than 20 days, which was a few days faster than when the Juyo Dragon Emperor cultivated the 7th grade divine chain. This made the Death Envoy click his tongue in wonder. He really didn't expect that Long Yu would be faster than the Juyo Dragon Emperor in cultivating the 7th grade divine chain. When the Juyo Dragon Emperor first cultivated the 7th grade divine chain, his martial arts realm was 2 levels higher than the current Long Yu. Hua Mei-er, Miss Ziying, let's have a spar in this martial arts field. Let's get to know each other better so that we can cooperate better in the Imperial City meeting. Chapter 682. Qiao Ziying and Hua Mei-er looked at each other, then nodded. In order to cooperate better in the Imperial capital, everyone needed to know more about each other's strength. They were the main force of the Heavenly Mandate Manor in the Imperial capital, so they needed to know more about each other. In the third round, after the strongest is eliminated, the other 3 will be selected to form a team to participate in the team battle. So, either Qiao Ziying or Mei-er will be eliminated. Qihua walked to Man Xin and said with a smile, but no matter who is eliminated, Manzi, it seems that one of us has to fight. As for who will fight, let's decide the winner later. What do you think? That's exactly what I want. Man Xin grinned. He missed Qihua a lot. Now that Qihua had returned and reached the 2 divine realms like him, he had long wanted to spar with Qihua. However, before that, the 2 of them wanted to see the extent of Long Yu's current strength. Man Xin had been fighting with Qiao Ziying these days, so he knew very well how strong she was. Qiao Ziying, who had reached the 6 divine realms, was no longer someone Man Xin could deal with. Qihua also understood Hua Mei-er's strength very well. He wanted to see how long you would be able to spar with her with just 3 divine ability realm cultivation. In fact, Qihua was quite confident in himself now. Even if he faced an ordinary cultivator in the 5 divine realms, he could hold on for a while and even defeat some weaker ones. In Qihua's opinion, Long Yu was only in the 3 divine realms. Even if he fought with Qihua, he might not gain any advantage. But Qihua knew Hua Mei-er's strength very well. Hua Mei-er had comprehended the complete divine characters of the fire attribute. Plus, she had a desolation level upper grade weapon. Even if she faced some cultivators in the 7 divine realms, she would be able to defeat them. To put it simply, Chihua was not optimistic about the fight between Long Yu and Hua Mei'er, but since Long Yu had brought it up, he would certainly watch carefully. Han Yu asked the others to leave the martial arts practice field for now. I don't want to reveal the true strength of the heavenly mandate manner. Long Yu ordered Han Yue. It wasn't that he wanted to keep it a secret from the others in the heavenly mandate manner. It was just that this was a gamble, and it was worth at least 100,000 divine coins. It was important to note that the grand event in the imperial capital had yet to begin. There was still room for change in all the bets. If news of his true strength were to spread and everyone placed their bets on the heavenly mandate manner, then he would not be able to make much profit. Han Yu agreed and called away all the irrelevant people in the field. It wasn't that he didn't trust them, but with regard to the strength of Long Yu and the others, it would be useless even if they knew about it. The members of the heavenly mandate manor who were called away were not angry. After all their cultivation resources were given by Long Yu. If Long Yu asked them to leave temporarily, they would not dare to refuse. However, everyone would have new speculations about Long Yu's true strength. This was for sure. How strong was Long Yu? No one would be able to guess it. In the martial arts arena, Long Yu and Xiao Xing stood facing each other. The others were watching from the side. However, there were only a few people watching. Only Chihua, Mei'er, Hong Yu, Nanmin Xia, and Man Xian were watching the arena with anticipation. Xing do it. Long Yu chuckled and said to Xiao Xing. Xiao Xing had seen Long Yu's strength. She saw with her own eyes how Long Yu held back dozens of beasts from the secret land of the king's path, when countless beasts of the Wood God clan rushed out, causing those beasts to be killed by the martial arts cultivators of the Jianghu. Therefore, Xiao Xing did not underestimate Long Yu at all. In reality, even if it was an expert who had reached the 7 Daos transcendent realm, if they were to underestimate Long Yu, they could be killed by him in a single strike. The reason why he sparred with Xiao Xing first was because Long Yu did not want to take advantage of Hua Mei'er. He wanted to know Hua Mei's full strength. After seeing his sparring with Xiao Xing, Hua Mei'er would definitely know Long Yu's true strength. Then, she would fight with Long Yu in her peak condition. I'm going. Xiao Xing was 10 zhang away from Long Yu. She smiled and raised her hand. A wave of water divine character power swept out, roaring towards Long Yu like a huge wave. Water divine character was an elemental divine character power. Its characteristics could be violent or gentle. It depended on the type of innate ability the person comprehended. Xiao Xing's first innate ability was called Water Prison. It could bind the opponent, and its effect was very obvious. However, it was clearly useless against Long Yu. Nether Shadow Escape. Facing Xiao Xing's Water Prison, Long Yu immediately used a derivative skill of 9 Underworld Heavenly Light, Nether Shadow Escape. His whole body turned into a black stream of light and instantly appeared behind Xiao Xing. Nether Dragon 9 Explosions, Evil Thought Explosion. Long Yu punched at Xiao Xing's back. Because it was only a sparring match, he did not use his strongest Heaven Underworld Explosion. However, even if it was just Evil Thought Explosion, it was enough to deal with Xiao Xing. With this punch from Long Yu, the 9 Underworld Divine characters spread out at an extremely fast speed, gradually covering Xiao Xing's body. The 9 Underworld Divine characters stirred up the evil thoughts in her heart, and she was about to explode at this moment. However, Xiao Xing reacted at the fastest speed. Water Divine characters surrounded her body. Innate ability, Water Purification. Xiao Xing used another innate ability, and immediately, all the 9 Underworld Divine characters were expelled from her body. She even disintegrated and purified them into ashes. Long Yu's Nether Dragon 9 explosions died in her abdomen, and before it could explode, it was eliminated. This surprised Long Yu. He did not expect Xiao Xing to have such a mystique. Moreover, looking at the way Xiao Xing used this move just now, it seemed that the water purification could be used on others. In other words, if Long Yu was trapped by the opponent's sacred art during the team battle, Xiao Xing will be able to release him in an instant. This was a godly skill. Long Yu finally understood why Xiao Xing was able to become an important member of the Broken Tooth Party. Just this water purification skill alone was enough to make her role in the team undeniable. Again, 9 Underworld Dragon Breath. Long Yu's eyes flashed with excitement, and he did not stop attacking. As soon as Xiao Xing removed Long Yu's evil thought explosion, Long Yu's body was enveloped by the power of the 9 Underworld divine characters. His eyes shone with the light of the 9 Underworld. Dragon Breath, break! Long Yu spewed out the 9 Underworld Dragon Breath, which condensed into a pitch-black pillar of light, and attacked Xiao Xing. This 9 Underworld Dragon Breath was only a level 3 beginner-level mystique, but its power was stronger than the evil thought explosion. It was even comparable to the strongest move of the 9 Underworld Dragon 9 explosions, the Heaven Underworld Explosion. However, the biggest weakness of this skill was that the attack only had one direction, and it could be easily dodged. Clearly, Xiao Xing saw the weakness of this skill of Long Yu's. The best defense is offense. Xiao Xing knew that she could not keep defending like this. Therefore, her eyes flashed, and she came up with a strategy immediately. Facing Long Yu's 9 Underworld Dragon Breath, Xiao Xing dodged it directly. Her body turned into a stream of water, and she jumped away very quickly. This was a heaven-grade body movement technique that she had cultivated. For martial arts practitioners in the Jianghu, a heaven-grade body movement technique was quite good. Mystique, water burial in the sky. Xiao Xing turned into a stream of water, and she dodged Long Yu's 9 Underworld Dragon Breath. She raised her hand and condensed a whirlpool of water, which surged toward Long Yu. This innate mystique was extremely fast. When Xiao Xing first came to the Heavenly Mandate Manor, she used this same skill to repel all her subordinates from the Qinyang Mansion. If it was used to deal with only one person, the lethality of this skill would be extremely terrifying. The water burial in the sky was the innate mystique that Xiao Xing had the deepest understanding of. Now that it had reached the 5th level of heaven, it was already a middle-grade mystique. The stream of water condensed into a whirlpool, and it carried a boundless and turbulent aura that enveloped Long Yu entirely. Hua Mei-er, who was watching the battle from his side, thought that Long Yu must be at his wits' end now. How could 3 people in the realm of divinity withstand the powerful attack of 6 experts in the realm of divinity? However, what happened next completely exceeded Hua Mei-er's expectations. Barrier of Death. The corner of Long Yu's mouth curled up slightly. He raised his hand and condensed a barrier of divinity characters of death in front of him. Ever since he absorbed the power of the Shadow Heaven Stone, he had comprehended 10% of the divinity characters of death, which made the barrier of death useful to a certain extent. Then, the water whirlpool suddenly swept towards the barrier of death that Long Yu was in. The high-speed whirlpool almost shattered the barrier of death in an instant. However, the barrier of death also absorbed a lot of the impact. Just as all the spectators and Xiao Xing were worried and nervous, Long Yu did not dodge or evade. It seemed that he wanted to withstand the impact of the water burial in the sky with his body alone. Long Yu, Xiao Xing exclaimed. She was only sparring with Long Yu. If she accidentally killed Long Yu, it would not be fun. However, even if she wanted to stop immediately, she could not do it because the water burial in the sky had already collided with Long Yu. Realm of Divinity Body, condense. In the face of the water burial's impact, Long Yu did not dodge or evade, and his eyes flashed calmly. In his estimation, this innate ability of Xiao Xing's couldn't destroy his realm of divinity body. In other words, even if Long Yu stood still, Xiao Xing's attack wouldn't be able to injure him. The whirlpool formed by the divine runes of water instantly surged, mixed with wave after wave of the power of the divine runes of death. With a loud bang, the whirlpool exploded and a tyrannical shock wave swept out, causing Xiao Xing, who was very close to it, to be pushed back a few steps. Chapter 683. Body training martial skills aren't very common in Shunwu world. Other than a few beast cultivators, human cultivators rarely practice body training martial skills. One of the reasons is that training body strengthening martial skills is too painful. The other reason is that body strengthening martial skills aren't as effective as some defensive martial skills. Shunwu world's martial cultivators also don't have many high-level body strengthening martial skills to train in. For example, Long Yu's Death Realm body training is an immemorial realm body training skill, something that no one in Shunwu world can imagine. Not to mention an immemorial realm martial skill. Even an age martial skill is something that very few people in Shunwu world have the chance to obtain. How is this possible? Seeing Long Yu standing still in the middle of the water runes, Qiao Xing, Huomei and the others were stunned. Although Qiao Xing didn't want to hurt Long Yu, she didn't think that her strongest innate thaumaturgy wouldn't be able to affect Long Yu at all. Desolate Shadow Kill. As soon as Long Yu willed it, 4 ancient shadows dashed out from the center of the surging waves of divine characters. They attacked Qiao Xing from 4 different directions. Qiao Xing didn't want to continue fighting and smiled bitterly. I give up. Long Yu, even my strongest attack can't hurt you. There's no point in continuing. Fine. Long Yu smiled, raised his hand, and walked out from the center of the surging water runes, and made his 4 desolate ancient phantoms all dissipate. As the water runes also disappeared, Qiao Xing walked to one side and told Huomei, Mei, it's your turn. Huomei was still shocked at how Long Yu used his body to block Qiao Xing's strongest attack just now, but as soon as she heard that, she subconsciously nodded. She walked towards the center of the sparring field, turned around to look at Qi Hua, then focused all her attention on Long Yu. I didn't think you'd be so strong and train a body training skill. Huomei's eyes flashed with admiration. She knew very well how painful it was to train a body training skill. In fact, the pain of training a Death Realm body training skill was not something normal people could imagine. Long Yu had gone through 14 cycles of life and death. He had experienced almost all kinds of pain. The Death Envoy's training method was not something normal people could endure. I heard from Qi Hua that you have a great desolate high-rank combat weapon. Long Yu smiled slightly. In this way, it's impossible for me to block your attack with just my physical body. A high-ranked, great desolate grade combat weapon was worth at least 10,000 Shinbi. It wasn't something that just anyone could get their hands on. In the Tianqing dynasty, the Tianqing Emperor's main combat weapon was only a high-ranked great desolate grade combat weapon, the Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell that Long Yu had snatched away. Generally speaking, only Emperor Realm experts could obtain a high-ranked great desolate grade combat weapon. Even if one had 10,000 divine coins, it wouldn't be easy to buy one. For example, Long Yu had given Fuexan 15,000 Shinbi to buy a high-ranked great desolate grade combat weapon, but no one was willing to sell it. For an ordinary manner, their annual income would only be around this amount, and they would have to raise hundreds or even thousands of cultivators. There was no way they could afford a high-ranked, great desolate grade combat weapon. Long Yu only had so much money because he had plundered Prince Cloud's corpse. In the entire North Snow dynasty, there were only a few people who owned a high-ranked, great desolate level combat weapon. It was already the highest level of combat weapon an ordinary cultivator could obtain. It was extremely difficult to obtain a great desolate grade or even an ancient grade combat weapon. Like Prince Yun Duan, he only had one ancient low-rank combat weapon, the Pale Cold Blade. Huomei stood gracefully in the middle of the square. After hearing Long Yu's words, she nodded her head and took out a cluster of burning flames from her bosom. Secret Heavenly Flame. This is our Heavenly Fire Fox clan's high-ranked, great desolate grade combat weapon. Huomei stared at the burning Secret Heavenly Flame combat weapon in her hand with a complicated expression. However, she didn't dwell on it for long. She raised her head and looked at Long Yu. She smiled and said, "Be careful. Come on." Long Yu nodded confidently. Even with a high-ranked, great desolate grade combat weapon, Huomei wouldn't be his match. However, Long Yu wanted to try out the 7th grade divine chain he had just learned, the Phantom Spiral. Of course, he couldn't use this skill right at the start of the battle. He had to see how strong Hua Mei was first. Heavenly Flame descend. As soon as Hua Mei attacked, she gathered the power of the Heavenly Flame divine characters. It was the power that most of the Heavenly Fire Fox clan had comprehended. Hua Mei had comprehended it from the complete Heavenly Flame divine characters. Although it was not as powerful as Chi Hua's Heavenly Fire origin, it was enough for her to deal with some ordinary 7 Daos Divinity Realm experts with her 6 Daos Divinity Realm cultivation base and her complete understanding of the Heavenly Fire origin. Balls of Heavenly Flame fell from the sky towards Long Yu, causing Long Yu to frown. With the help of the high-ranked, Great Desolate grade combat weapon in Hua Mei-er's hand and the secret Heavenly Flame, even if it was an ordinary martial skill, the endless Heavenly Flame would still be extremely powerful. Long Yu didn't dare to underestimate it. Unfortunately, he didn't have many defensive skills. He had used the Barrier of Death to block Qiao Ziying's Flowing Water Heavenly Burial. Now, he only had one choice: 9 Underworld Heavenly Light. 9 Underworld Heavenly Light wasn't a defensive martial skill. Strictly speaking, it was a comprehensive martial skill. The power of the 9 Nether Divine Runes spread out, enveloping the entire area. These 9 Nether Divine Runes would continuously corrode the other martial cultivators within the 9 Nether Divine Runes, slightly weakening their battle prowess. Apart from this, Long Yu was able to move freely within the 9 Nether Heavenly Light, especially after he had comprehended this martial skill to the small success stage. His movement speed within the 9 Nether Heavenly Light was equivalent to when he was using the Shadow Evasion. The Heavenly Flame fell towards Long Yu like a meteor. However, Long Yu hid in the pitch-black 9 Underworld Divine characters and instantly appeared not far behind Hua Mei. Heavenly Flame break. Hua Mei was extremely vigilant. When she was covered by the pitch-black light of the 9 Underworld Divine characters, she almost immediately sensed Long Yu's intention. She raised the secret Heavenly Flame combat weapon in her hand, and a thick Heavenly Flame burst out, leaving Long Yu with nowhere to run. Keep dodging. Long Yu was extremely agile in the 9 Underworld Heavenly Light. He could almost dodge any attack. In the next moment, he appeared next to Hua Mei and dodged the Heavenly Flame break cast by the secret Heavenly Flame combat weapon. So troublesome. Hua Mei felt that her attack had missed again. She couldn't help but clench her teeth. She felt that Long Yu was too much of a pervert. He had actually cultivated this kind of martial skill. In this pitch-black light of the 9 Underworld Divine characters, he could actually move so fast. It seems that if I want to deal with you, I have to disperse this pitch-black light first. Hua Mei was quite smart. She immediately thought of a way to deal with Yi-chan. However, she didn't know that it was not that easy to disperse the 9 Underworld Heavenly Light. Divine ability, Heavenly Flame Dragon Howl. Hua Mei's eyes emitted a fiery light. Immediately, her whole body was enveloped by the power of the Heavenly Flame divine characters. Unexpectedly, she changed from a human body to a demon body. A small and exquisite fiery red fox appeared in front of Long Yu. Immediately after, the fiery red little fox suddenly grew bigger. The endless power of the Heavenly Flame divine characters condensed her into the shape of a long dragon. Immediately, the long dragon opened its mouth and immediately roared. Along with the whistling of the Heavenly Flame divine characters, waves of fire spread out in all directions. In front of Long Yu's astonished eyes, the pitch-black light of the 9 Underworld Divine characters was gradually dispersed by the Heavenly Flame divine characters, leaving him no place to hide. Divine ability, Heavenly Flame, Fox, Shadow. Before Hua Mei could fully display her skill, the next moment, hundreds of illusions of the fiery red fox appeared and completely surrounded Long Yu. Long Yu's scalp went numb. At a glance, he was actually surrounded by illusions of the fiery red fox. This Hua Mei was indeed a genius of the Heavenly Flame Fox clan. Long Yu, I'm going to attack. Over 1,000 fiery red foxes spoke in unison, their voices resounding through the entire area. Immediately after, each of the foxes spat out heavenly fire divine characters at Long Yu, forming waves of flames that swept towards him. Seems like I can only use that move. Light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. Facing thousands of fiery fox illusions, he had no idea which one was the real one. Therefore, he could only display the 7th grade divine chain that he had just comprehended, the Netherworld Spiral. He raised his hand, and the endless power of the 9 underworld divine characters condensed in his hand. Gradually, according to a certain order, they formed many pitch-black divine chains. Divine chains, Netherworld Spiral. Both of Long Yu's eyes were filled with pitch-black light. Circles after circles of Netherworld divine chains spread out in all directions, forming many pitch-black rings that spread towards Long Yu. Not long after, the Netherworld Spiral divine chains enveloped all the fiery fox illusions. As for the fiery fox illusions, the fireballs they spat out were just illusions. They didn't have any real attacking power. Originally, Long Yu wanted to use his death state body refining technique to resist them. However, he didn't expect that they were just camouflage. Fortunately, this was the case. Otherwise, Hua Mei-er's innate divine ability would be too strong. This is divine chains. When a Netherworld Spiral divine chains condensed, Hua Mei-er was shocked. Not only her, but the other spectators also looked as if they had seen a ghost. This brat, Long Yu, had secretly cultivated the divine chains. This meant that he had already reached level 5 compatibility with the Shadow attribute divine characters. Bastard! Man Xian cried out. He knew that Shu Chan had already reached level 5 compatibility with the Shadow attribute divine characters, but he had never seen Shu Chan use the divine chains technique. He didn't expect to see it on Long Yu first. When a Netherworld Spiral divine chains appeared, the thousands of fiery fox illusions seemed to have entered a slow-motion state. Endless Netherworld divine characters condensed into divine chains, turning the entire martial arts practice field into a quagmire. Chapter 684. Thousands of illusions of the little red fox clones were sucked into the spiral and disintegrated one by one, turning into fragments that dissipated within the spiral. In less than 2 breaths of time, all the illusions of the little fox demon clones had disappeared, leaving only Hua Mei-er's original body, which had completely fallen into the spiral. She wanted to take advantage of the time when Long Yu was dealing with her illusions to use the upper desolate level weapon and the hidden heavenly fire to defeat Long Yu. However, she found that no matter if it was Xian Qi, laws, or the power of the godly glyphs, they were all 10 times slower in the spiral. Even if she used the hidden heavenly fire weapon, she would not be able to do anything in 2 breaths of time. Even if she was given 2 breaths of time, she would not be able to do anything. Long Yu leisurely walked forward with the Nether Void Dragon Blade in his hand, placing it horizontally in front of Hua Mei-er's neck. After that, he smiled and put away the Nether Void Dragon Blade. This is an ancient combat weapon. You've lost. For a moment, Hua Mei-er was a bit disheartened. She never thought that she would lose to someone who only had 3 divine abilities, realm, cultivation. However, Long Yu's strength was indeed very strong. Just by relying on 3 divine abilities, realm, cultivation, he was able to unleash divine chains, which was very admirable. Mei-er admits defeat, as expected of Chi Hua's boss. Hua Mei-er turned around and smiled. It was obvious that after this battle, she not only had a clear understanding of Long Yu's strength, but she also felt that staying in the heavenly mandate manner with Chi Hua might be a good choice. With Long Yu's current strength, he was not any weaker than the legend of the North Snow Dynasty, Yuhan Xin, when she was in the Divinity's secret realm. In other words, if Long Yu kept going, he might be chosen by the alliance of 5 emperors and be accepted as a disciple. This was an extremely rare honor. Once obtained, no matter where he went in the divine battle world, he would be respected by everyone. Impressive, impressive. Chi Hua also exclaimed in admiration. He was well aware of Hua Mei-er's strength, but Long Yu had easily defeated Hua Mei-er. Clearly, his strength had surpassed Hua Mei-er. Seeing this, Chihua's face turned slightly red. Just a moment ago, he had wanted to go up and fight with Long Yu. But now, it seemed that there was no need for that. He was absolutely not a match for Long Yu. Even if Long Yu just stood there without moving, Chihu would not be able to do anything to him. Man Z, let's go up and play. Let's go. Chihu was no match for Long Yu, but he dared to challenge Man Xian, who was at the same level as him. Man Xian had also been waiting for a long time. All right, my saber is thirsting for blood. He took out the stormy demonic saber and blinded Chihua's eyes. You, this is a great desolate grade transcendent combat weapon, or a top grade one? Super grade, Man Xian said proudly. Bastard. Chihua's expression changed. I can't believe a guy like you could get a great desolate grade transcendent combat weapon. Well, I don't even have a mid-grade one. But I heard that your divine character of heavenly fire is very powerful. I still want to see it. Man Xian said to Chihua, then walked to the training ground. Let's go down and fight. Long Yu returned to the spectator stand and patted Chihua's shoulder with a smile. He also wanted to see how strong Chihua and Man Xian had become. Long Yu had some understanding of Man Xian's strength. After stepping into the 2 Daos Divine Realm, Man Xian could easily win against an opponent with 5 Daos Divine Realm. Only against an expert with 6 Daos Divine Realm, he would find it hard to resist. For example, Man Xian was no match for Qiao Ziying, but he could still win against Nanmen Yingxia. This made Nanmen Yingxia quite puzzled. Why were all the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor freaks? The appearance of Long Yu was already enough to make people sigh with emotion. Unexpectedly, there were also Man Xian and Chihua. One had the inheritance of the stormy demonic blade, and the other had comprehended the power of the divine character of heavenly fire. Even though both of them were only in the 2 Daos Divine Realm, their combat strength was no weaker than those in the 5 Daos Divine Realm. The 9-tailed flaming true spirit is formed by the divine character of heavenly fire. I didn't expect Chihua to be so blessed. Long Yu was surprised as well. He didn't expect Chihua to comprehend the power of the divine character of heavenly fire. Up until now, no one else that Long Yu had seen had comprehended the origin divine rune. This was the strongest of the 3 divine rune grades. It was several times stronger than a complete divine rune inscription. In other words, the power of the divine character of heavenly fire that Chihua comprehended was equivalent to Long Yu's divine character of 9 nether, divine character of death, and divine character of Azura. On the stage, Man Xian and Chihua soon began sparring. Long Yu already knew of Man Xian's strength. He knew that Man Xian had the 7 demonic blades as well as the demon sealing seal that he had just comprehended. With the help of the stormy demonic blade, Man Xian could use the demon sealing seal to imprison his opponent for a short period of time. On top of that, Man Xian had also cultivated a grand desolate martial skill. When he used it with the stormy demonic blade, its power was in no way inferior to a primary level innate skill. Combined with the power of the demon sealing seal, it created a demon sealing storm on the stage. Chihua was soon forced to reveal his true form. He was surprised that a man who fought with his life on the line would also know how to use words to confuse his opponent. Skill, Eyes of Heavenly Fire. Without any hesitation, Chihua cast his innate skill, Eyes of Heavenly Fire. The power of the primordial heavenly fire quickly gathered on his forehead and formed into a flaming pupil. Facing Man Xian's demon destruction, 7 blades, Chihua formed the Eyes of Heavenly Fire and shot out a beam of primordial heavenly fire divine characters that slammed into the 4th demon sealing saber chi, shattering it. Damn! Man Xian's eyes lit up. He didn't expect Chihua to have such a powerful skill. Immediately, he gathered the power of the primordial heavenly fire divine characters and slashed at Chihua with the storm demon saber. This was his strongest skill, the fifth slash of the demon destruction, 7 blades. Up until now, he could only cast the fifth slash. The storm of the primordial heavenly fire divine characters swept across the entire training field. Countless rocks were lifted into the air and merged with the saber light, attacking Chi Hua from all directions. Eyes of heavenly fire. Chi Hua's eyes lit up. The flaming pupil on his forehead continued to shoot out beams of primordial heavenly fire divine characters, shattering the storm of the primordial heavenly fire divine characters. When the fifth blade radiance of the demon sealing divine rune arrived, the eye of heavenly fire went up to meet it. With a loud bang, the two sides collided. The blade radiance shattered the eye of heavenly fire, but the fiery light that erupted from the eye of heavenly fire also burned the demon sealing blade radiance into nothingness. Between the two of them, one had the grand desolate grade combat weapon, the Storm Demon Saber, and obtained the inheritance of the Storm Demon Saber, while the other had the nine-tailed True Spirit and comprehended the power of the primordial heavenly fire divine characters. You're good. I don't have any more tricks up my sleeves. After Man Xin finished casting the Demon Destruction 7 blades, he shook his head and returned to the training field with the Storm Demon Saber. Chi Hua returned to his human form and smiled. You're stronger than I thought. Not bad, not bad. Not bad, my ass. Do you really think I, Man Z, will lose to you so easily? Man Xin harumphed, his eyes filled with disdain. These two. Long Yu shook his head. Man Xin and Chi Hua were a pair of old enemies. They had been together ever since they entered the sky human stage. Naturally, they had a very deep friendship. Long Yu didn't think too much about it. Right at that moment, Hong Yu flew over, signaling that 2 guests had arrived. Come, let me introduce you to these 2 guests. Chapter 685. The 2 guests who had just arrived were Gu Wanshan and Gu Yixian, who had said not long ago that they would come to the imperial capital to watch the event. Now, the Crack 2 squad was all here. Of course, the other 3 members of the Crack 2 squad were not young. Only Qiao Ziying was less than 30 years old and could attend the event. Soon, Gu Wanshan and Gu Yixian saw Long Yu in the central hall, as well as the group of people Long Yu had brought from the martial practice field. Brother Gu, we meet again. Long Yu smiled and stepped forward to greet him. Brother Long, we heard that Ziying has broken through to the divine power realm. It seems that your heavenly mandate manor is a good place. Gu Wanshan also smiled warmly. He saw Qiao Ziying behind Long Yu and was quite satisfied. Hong Yu must have mentioned this to you. Long Yu glanced at Gu Yixian and said, an old friend of our heavenly mandate manor has returned, and he has brought along members of the heavenly Firefox clan. In order to prevent the members of the heavenly Firefox clan from causing trouble during the grand event in the imperial capital, we need Gu Yixian's help to look after them. Of course, I am willing to pay you 5,000 divine texts as compensation. Hong Yu has mentioned this to me. Don't worry, I will stop the Skyfire Fox clan and the Clouds Now Fox clan for you during the event. Gu Yixian faintly nodded in agreement. Hua Mei, who stood behind Long Yu and looked Gu Yixian up and down. She could feel that Gu Yixian's aura was stronger than that of an ordinary King Realm cultivator. An expert who is about to break through to the Emperor Realm? Hua Mei asked. Indeed, only one step away. Unfortunately, I cannot find that opportunity. Gu Yixian didn't hide it. He nodded and said with some regret. Many people in the world want to break through to the Emperor Realm, but not everyone can do it. Judging from your aura, you're not far from it, Hua Mei said. Gu Yixian didn't deny it. Gu Yixian declined to comment. He really didn't know when he would be able to step into the Emperor Realm. The feeling of being on the verge of a breakthrough had already appeared a year ago. However, he had experienced many battles in this 1 year, but in the end, he was still unable to take that final step. In any case, he didn't have anything to do recently, so he came to observe the battle between the young geniuses of the Imperial Capital Grand Meet. Perhaps he could gain something from it. At the same time, he could also earn 5,000 divine coins, so why not? In the eyes of a martial cultivator at Gu Yixian's level, The Skyfire Fox clan and the Coldsnow Fox clan weren't powers he couldn't afford to offend. It had to be known that the Skyfire Fox clan couldn't represent all of Skyfire County, and the Coldsnow Fox clan couldn't represent all of Skyfire County. The number of experts that could contend with Gu Yixian was limited. Anyway, he was only protecting the people of the Heavenly Mandate Manor and preventing these two foxes from messing around. He wouldn't break the rules of the grand event in the imperial capital. As long as Gu Yixian didn't take the initiative to attack, he wouldn't attract any criticism. After seeing Gu Yixian with her own eyes and sensing his aura, Huamer was completely at ease. Originally, she had been a little afraid that the Heavenfire Fox clan would forcefully take her back. With Gu Yixian's protection, there was no need to worry about that. The Crack 2 squad and the Qianrui squad were not only famous in the vicinity of the Spring Heavenly Tower, but experts like Gu Yixian were also famous throughout the entire North Snow Empire. Huamer had long heard of Gu Yixian, and now that she had seen him with her own eyes, she was naturally relieved. That night, everyone held a welcome banquet to welcome Qihua's return, as well as the arrival of Gu Wenshan and Gu Yixian. The appearance of so many experts made everyone in the Heavenly Mandate Manor immersed in joy. This also meant that the Heavenly Mandate Manor had a greater chance of winning in the grand event in the imperial capital. Even if they couldn't get a good ranking, at least they couldn't fall into the bottom 3. If they did, they would be eliminated and all of them would be chased out of the manor. During the day, after sparring with Long Yu, Huamer and Xiao Xing had a better understanding of Long Yu's strength. They were also full of confidence for the upcoming grand event in the imperial capital. What the two women didn't know was that Long Yu hadn't used his full strength yet. He still had a trump card, the Dragon of the Nine Underworld's real spirit, that he hadn't released yet. Of course, this real spirit could only be released once a month and couldn't be released during sparring. With this trump card, Long Yu was sure that he could kill even the experts in the secret realm of the King's Path. By the way, Long Yu, I heard that an Azura Mansion came here from the Tianqin dynasty with the Heavenly Mandate Manor. During the banquet, Gu Yixian found Long Yu and asked, "In the Azura Mansion, there is another genius besides you. His name is Mo Jian. Do you know him?" Hearing Gu Yixian's question, Long Yu was a little confused, but he still answered truthfully, "I know Mo Jian, but I haven't seen him since I came to the North Snow Dynasty. I don't know if he will come back from the grand event in the imperial capital." "He should be back." Gu Yixian squinted her eyes and said, "A while ago, after you left with Xing and the others, my brother and I met Mo Jian and even fought with him. Later, we found out that it was a misunderstanding. We got to know each other through fighting, and we became friends. He is very powerful. Speaking of which, Mo Jian should have entered the secret realm of the King's Path," Long Yu said with a smile. Of course, Mo Jian was powerful. He was the top young genius in the Azura County. Even though he was already over 30 years old, his dedication to martial arts had won Long Yu's admiration. In the world of dreams, Mo Jian caught hold of Long Yu and fought with him for a long time. Mo Jian used his innate skills crazily, so that Jiqian's shadow attack reached the 6th level of heaven. Yi Futian wondered if Mo Jian had already comprehended Jiqian's shadow attack into a high-level innate skill. If so, it would be amazing. I look forward to it, Long Yu. Gu Yixian smiled and patted Long Yu's shoulder. With your talent, you might be able to catch up to me and Mo Jian one day. At that time, we'll have a good fight. I heard from Xing that you defeated her and Hua Mei or one after another today. That was not easy. I'm also looking forward to such an opportunity. Long Yu said with a smile, "It would be great if I could participate in the Conference of Divine Martial Emperors in 2 years. The Conference of Divine Martial Emperors. Gu Yixian's eyes sparkled when he heard that. I'm looking forward to it too. The Conference of Divine Martial Emperors was held once every 100 years. A young genius like Gu Yixian, who was only in his 40s, had never participated in it. Gu Yixian had been looking forward to the largest gathering of powerful cultivators in the Shenwu world for a long time. That night, Everyone in the Heavenly Mandate Manor drank a lot and went back to rest. After tonight, there were only 2 days left before the Imperial Capital Grand Competition. Before that, Long you had to go to the Azure Manor to see how things were going there. In the first 3 rounds of the Imperial Capital Grand Competition, the opponents would be decided by drawing lots. It was very likely that the Heavenly Mandate Manor and the Azure Manor would not have any chance to meet. However, in the 4th and 5th rounds of the Imperial Capital Grand Competition, all the forces would fight together. Both sides could still work together. The next morning, Long Yu came to the gate of the Azure Manor in the North Snow Royal Capital. The last time he came here, he was provoked by the Dragon Manor, one of the 4 manors of the North Snow Royal Capital. Not only did the Dragon Manor take away most of the cultivators under the age of 30, but they also came back to provoke the Azure Manor. Long Yao, the prince of the Dragon Manor, was extremely arrogant. He wondered what had happened to the Azure Manor in the past month. Had Shu-chan returned from Sky Mist Prefecture? It's Long Yu. Why don't you come in and have a seat? As soon as Long Yu came to the gate of the Azure Manor, someone opened the gate and waved at Long Yu. It was Run Pingfan, the little fatty with the divine power. This little fatty had actually stepped into the 4 paths of Divinity Realm, and his cultivation was much stronger than before. Moreover, as Shu-chan's subordinate, he had long since comprehended a complete fire elemental divine character inscription, and his strength was extraordinary. Brother Fatty, how did you end up being a gatekeeper? Long Yu walked up and teased him with a smile. Sai, you don't know. Our Azure Manor is almost empty. After the Dragon Manor caused a ruckus, the remaining people have joined the Dragon Manor. I'm so angry. The little fatty looked puzzled. He invited Long Yu into the Azure Manor. The princess has also just returned. She's in the backyard, discussing some matters with General Hua and the others. Let me bring you there. Long Yu nodded. He raised his head and swept his gaze across the entire Azure Manor. He could feel the desolation of the place. It seemed that the Dragon Manor had come to cause trouble after that, causing many of the remaining people in the Azure Manor to leave and join the Dragon Manor. He didn't know how many people were left in the Azure Manor to participate in the Royal Capital Grand Meet. Of course, since Shu-chan had returned, she was most likely preparing to lead the team to participate in the Royal Capital Grand Meet. With Shu-chan there, it was unlikely that the Azure Manor would be at the bottom. After such a long time, the Stone of Dreams in Shu-chan's hand must have completely recovered. It would be easy for her to fight a cultivator from the secret plane of the Emperor Path alone, let alone participate in the Royal Capital Grand Meet. Long Yu followed the little fatty Run Pingfan to the backyard of the Azure Manor. He saw more than a dozen people, including Shu-chan, Hui Yuanbai, Yuqing Sha, and the others. Almost all the important people in the Azure Manor had gathered here, but there were only a dozen people left. Compared to the current prosperity of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, the Azure Manor was undoubtedly much more deserted. Long Yu, you're here. When Shu-chan saw Long Yu, she raised her head. Her eyes that were as bright as the stars flickered with astonishment. 3 transcendent realms. That's fast. Aren't you also in the 6 divine realms? Long Yu glanced at Shu-chan and chuckled. It seems that you've experienced a lot in the Snowdance Corps. Shu-chan had stepped into the 6 divine realms. Her strength was stronger than Long Yu's. It seemed that there was no need to worry about the performance of the Azure Manor in the Royal Capital Grand Meet. Of the 122 manors, the 3 from the bottom were at the bottom. They would be eliminated and their manors closed down. As for the manors, there were a total of 76 manors. In the end, the 2 from the bottom would be eliminated. Unless they paid a large sum of divine coins, everyone in the manors would be driven out of the manors. The entire Royal Capital Grand Meet would eliminate the 5 major forces. After that, a martial arts competition between the cultivators of the secret plane of the Emperor Path would be held and distributed among the cultivators. Under such a system, the martial arts atmosphere of the entire North Snow dynasty was quite tense. Whether it was the various forces or the martial arts practitioners of the Jianghu, they all kept moving forward. They were far more active than the forces of the Tianqing dynasty. Chapter 686. After talking for a while, Long Yu knew that the Shura Manor was not in a good situation. Including Shuchan, there were only a dozen people below the age of 30 who could participate in the event, just like in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Shuchan was the strongest. She had reached the Six Realms divinity plane, and her real combat ability was comparable to that of a King Realm cultivator. Next were Shuchan's original subordinates, Dugu Yijian, Jia Banxian, Rin Pingfan, Xiao Zhu, and Xuyan. These five were all below the age of 30 and were qualified to participate in the event. Like Shu Chan, Dugu Yijian had stepped into the Six Daos transcendent boundary. Moreover, during this period of time, he had comprehended the Azura divine runes. In addition, he had already comprehended the Yellow Springs divine runes. In other words, Dugu Yijian had comprehended two types of divine runes, and they complemented each other. In terms of strength, Dugu Yijian was definitely not weaker than Huang Mei and Xiao Xing at the same martial arts plane. As for Jia Banxian, he had reached the Five Realms divinity plane and comprehended some kind of light attribute divine character. He was also quite strong. Most importantly, he had a strong deduction ability. He could deduce important information during a team battle, which greatly increased the team's chances of winning. Rin Pingfan and Xiao Zhu were both in the Four Realms divinity plane and had comprehended the complete divine character. Their strength should be similar to Man Xin and Qihua. There was also Xuyan, who was in the Three Realms divinity plane. She was slightly weaker in comparison. In the entire Shura Manor, apart from Shu Chan's group, there were 6 young geniuses led by Fu Tsubing. They didn't join the Dragon House and stayed in the Shura Manor. In total, there were only 12 people who could participate in the event. Other than them, there were Yuqing Sha, Sahans Han, Xing Wu, General Hui Yuan Bai, and his 100 subordinates. They were all over the age of 30. So, when it comes to the event, the Shura Manor is still stronger than the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Long Yu said with a smile, "That's useless." Shuchan shook her head. She pondered for a moment before saying, "I'm afraid I won't be able to defeat the Long Manor in the Royal Capital Grand Meeting with just this little bit of strength. The Crown Prince of the Long Mansion, Long Yao, has just stepped into the King's Path secret realm. He is not invincible for you." Long Yu said, "But the other members of the Dragon Manor are much stronger than the members of our Azure Manor." Shu Chan said with a bitter smile. Under the leadership of the Dragon Crown Prince, Long Yao, the Dragon Mansion was extremely arrogant, recruiting most of the young geniuses from the Azure Mansion. Usually, whenever they saw people from the Azure Mansion, they would flaunt their prowess and beat them up. Extremely arrogant. However, we don't have to worry too much about this. When Shu Chan saw Long Yu frown, a trace of gratification appeared in her beautiful eyes. The Legion commander of the Freedom Legion in Sky Mist County is a 1-star general. You have seen him before. He is at the 7 Divine Realms. He should be here in 2 days. I wonder how many experts he will bring. Long Yu nodded his head, his furrowed brows smoothed out. General Yi Xing was a young genius with a cultivation of 7 Dao transcendent realm. If General Yi Xing brought his men to help, it wasn't impossible for the Azure Manor to defeat the Long Manor. Long Yao from the King's Path secret realm could be dealt with by Shu Chan. As for the others from the Dragon Manor, they might not be a match for a 1-star general. If both of us can pass the first 3 rounds and enter the top 100, we can still work together in the future. Shu Chan said to Long Yu with a smile. That's what I thought. Long Yu smiled and nodded. This was the purpose of his trip to the Azure Mansion. Of course, even if the two of them had not communicated beforehand, they would most likely work together when the time came. However, it was still necessary to let both parties be prepared. 2 days passed by quickly. As the Imperial Capital Grand Event was about to begin, no one came to cause trouble. Both the Heavenly Mandate Manor and the Azura Mansion enjoyed a rare period of peace. The Imperial Capital Grand Event will begin by drawing lots. It will be enough for me to go alone. Long Yu said to Hong Yu at the entrance of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Hong Yu, just look after the manor. When I come back from drawing lots, I will know which force I will be fighting with tomorrow. Be careful. Everyone in the manor depends on you. Hong Yu looked at Long Yu with a touch of tenderness in her eyes. Don't worry. Long Yu nodded, then jumped up and flew in the direction of the North Snow Imperial capital. Along the way, Long Yu saw many forces from the surrounding manors. At least 100 people were sent to the North Snow Imperial capital. After a while, he met a large group of people from the Soaring Fog Manor. Isn't that the great manor lord of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Long Yu? Ha! The group of people from the Soaring Fog Manor flew in the air. When they saw Long Yu alone from afar, they began to laugh at him, especially the young master of the Soaring Fog Manor, Tung Xingyun. He had sent 3 men in the 5 paths of Divinity Realm to kill Long Yu, but the 3 never came back. He hated Long Yu to the core. You'd better pray that the Soaring Fog Manor won't be drawn. Otherwise, we will show you our strength. Tung Xingyun threatened Long Yu from afar. Long Yu looked at Tung Xingyun as if he was looking at an idiot. His speed suddenly exploded, and he flew to the front with a whoosh. Long Yu did not like people like Tung Xingyun. If he really drew the Soaring Fog Manor, it would be good. Not only could he get 10 points, but he could also teach the young master, Tung Xingyun, a lesson. Long Yu moved forward and soon entered the North Snow Imperial City. The opening ceremony of the Imperial City would be held in the square in the center of the North Snow Imperial City. After arriving in the city, Long Yu first went to find Shu Chan. Then, the two of them went to the central square of the North Snow Imperial City together. Are the level 1 generals here? Long Yu asked Shu Chan while flying. They are here. They also brought a young man in the 6 paths of Divinity Realm and 2 young men in the 5 paths of Divinity Realm. They can all participate in the Imperial City Grand Ceremony. Shu Chan said with a smile, not only that, Emo Zhaiqian is also back. This guy has indeed entered the King's Path Secret Realm. It's a pity that he is over 30 years old and cannot participate in the Imperial City Grand Ceremony. That's good. Long Yu's eyes lit up. If Emo Zhaiqian had always been here, the people of the Dragon Mansion wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant. Now that he's back, the Shure Mansion is safe. I heard that a Jianghu martial arts practitioner from the King's Path Secret Realm also came to the Heavenly Mandate Manor. He seems to know Emo Zhaiqian? Shu Chan asked. His name is Gu Yixian. I think he met Emo Zhaiqian before. Long Yu gave a brief introduction. Then, the two of them arrived near the central square of the North Snow Imperial City. They saw a sea of people in front of them at first glance. Let's go down and walk. Long Yu looked ahead and saw some soldiers of the North Snow dynasty who were maintaining the order in the air. He said something to Shu Chan and landed on the street below. The opening ceremony of the Imperial City Grand Ceremony was held in the central square. No one was allowed to fly in the air. Since Long Yu and Shu Chan were going to participate in the Imperial City Grand Ceremony, they certainly had to abide by this rule. Today, a total of 256 forces from all over the North Snow dynasty had sent representatives to the central square to participate in the opening ceremony of the Imperial City Grand Ceremony. Looking at the sea of people in the square, there were at least tens of thousands of people gathered together. Long Yu knew that many forces had brought a large number of people to participate in the opening ceremony, just like the Soaring Fog Manor he saw just now. Hey, isn't this the young lady of the Azura Manor? Suddenly, an arrogant man's voice came from the side. Then, the crowd on the left of Long Yu and Shu Chan suddenly dispersed, making way for a young man in a golden robe. It was the crown prince of the Dragon House, Long Yao. Long Yao was wearing a golden robe with a long dragon embroidered on his sleeves. Coupled with the aura of an expert from the King's Path Secret Realm, he shone brightly and became the focus of the crowd. Behind Long Yao, there were many young geniuses of the Dragon House, including Yu Tongfei, the leader of the young martial art practitioners recruited from the Azure Manor. Yu Tongfei, I didn't expect you to betray us during my absence. Shu Chan ignored Long Yao and looked at Yu Tongfei, who was behind Long Yao, and said sarcastically. Yu Tongfei snorted coldly. A wise man submits to circumstances. If I stay in the Azura Manor, I will never see the day when I can make a name for myself. You are a genius in the six realms' divine power realm. Do you have to rely on others to survive? Shu Chan glanced at Yu Tongfei and smiled contemptuously. Relying on our Long manor is much better than staying in that shabby manor of yours. Long Yao laughed and said, "Your name is Shu Chan, right? I see that you're not bad looking and your martial arts talent is not bad. Why don't you come to my Long house? I can reluctantly accept you as a concubine. This is a great honor for you. Dream on. Long Yu, let's go." Shu Chan snorted coldly and then wanted to leave with Long Yu. "Wait, Lord Dragon Crown Prince hasn't allowed you to leave, and you want to leave? Are you looking down on our Long house?" Yu Tongfei suddenly jumped out and pointed at Shu Chan and Long Yu, scolding, "If you don't want to be eliminated in the Imperial Capital Grand event, you two better show some respect to Lord Dragon Crown Prince. Why? Do you think you can control the process of the Imperial Capital Grand event?" Long Yu had a faint smile on his face. He stopped in his tracks and looked back at the Crown Prince of the Dragon Residence, Long Yao. Long Yao's face suddenly changed. The Imperial Capital Grand event is hosted by Lord Yuhan Xin. What right does anyone else have to control it? Don't talk nonsense. However, you must pay the price for provoking my Long house. Kneel down and beg for mercy. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Long Yao looked at Long Yu, his eyes full of arrogance and threat. Your name is Long Yao, and the entire Long house is filled with demonic cultivators of the Dragon Clan. Long Yu's eyes narrowed as he stared at the Dragon Crown Prince's golden sleeves. I would like to experience the power of the demonic cultivators of the Dragon Clan. I hope you won't let me down. After saying this, Long Yu left with Shu Chan, not caring about the shocked looks of the people around them. This Long Yu, how dare he provoke the Crown Prince of the Dragon House? He must be tired of living. However, no one thought that it was Crown Prince Long Yao who came to provoke them in the first place. Long Yu was just giving him a tooth for a tooth. Long Yao's face darkened as he turned and left with his people. The Imperial Capital Grand event is about to begin. I want to see what gives this kid the right to be so arrogant. Once Heavenly Mandate Manor and Shura Mansion are eliminated, the people of these two forces will die. Chapter 687. Although Long Yu and Shu Chan had walked away, their conflict with Long Yao was still seen by many people. I didn't expect Long Yu to be so confident. Could it be that the Heavenly Mandate Manor he is in has some hidden power that allows them to stand out in the grand event of the Imperial Capital? That's unlikely. Not long ago, there was news that the strongest person in the Heavenly Mandate Manor was just a female cultivator in the six realms of divinity. How could she fight against the Long House? Also, I heard that the Heavenly Mandate Manor seemed to have offended the Heavenly Firefox clan and the Ling Snow Fox clan. These two fox clans have been asking around about the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Hee, your news is outdated. Don't you know that the daughter of the clan leader of the Heavenly Fire Fox clan ran away with an outsider? She also took away the divine implement of the Heavenly Fire Fox clan. That is an upper-grade desolation level weapon. That's right. I heard that too. Moreover, the daughter of the clan leader of the Heavenly Fire Fox clan is now in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. If nothing goes wrong, the Heavenly Mandate Manor will be targeted by many forces in the grand event of the Imperial Capital. Also, the Qinyang House had one of their subordinates killed at the gate of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. They won't let the Heavenly Mandate Manor off the hook. I like to see how this manor lord named Long Yu is going to deal with so many opponents. I have a friend who works in a casino. I heard that this Long Yu went to several casinos and bet 1,000 divine coins that the Heavenly Mandate Manor would make it into the top 100 of the grand event of the Imperial Capital. Top 100? This guy is really dreaming. Does he think it's so easy to make it into the top 100? The entire central square of the North Snow Imperial Capital was bustling with noise. Everyone was whispering and discussing. Long Yu didn't bother to pay attention to them. However, just as he and Shu Chan took a few steps forward, a large group of people blocked their way. The Fox clan? Long Yu raised his head and squinted. he saw a group of martial arts cultivators in fiery red robes. The leader was a middle-aged man with a serious expression. He was actually a cultivator of the Fox clan in the King Realm. "You are Long Yu of the Heavenly Mandate Manor?" This King Realm expert of the Fox clan blocked in front of Long Yu with his men. He stared at Long Yu condescendingly and said in a cold voice, "It's me." Long Yu replied indifferently. He glanced at the other party and saw that behind this middle-aged Fox clan king, there were many 7 and 6 Daos transcendent realm demonic cultivators. All of them were staring at him with ill intentions. "Where's my daughter, Huomei?" That King Realm Fox clan powerhouse's aura was awe-inspiring. When he asked this question, his whole body's aura was released. It seemed that he was trying to use his aura to suppress Long Yu. Unfortunately, Long Yu wasn't affected by his opponent's aura at all. "You must be Hua Mei-er's father, the patriarch of the Heavenly Fire Fox clan, Hua Haotsong." Long Yu said leisurely, "I know why you are looking for me, but I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Your daughter is not willing to return to the Heavenly Fire Fox clan and listen to your orders to marry someone she doesn't like. If you insist on marrying her to the Snow Fox clan, I'm afraid she will never want to see you again in this life." Wolsh *T, who do you think you are? How dare you speak to our patriarch like this? Behind the middle-aged Fox King, a subordinate of the Heavenly Fire Fox clan shouted. He pointed at Long Yu and scolded, "You are just a kid in the 3 divine realms. How dare you be so arrogant and domineering? You really have a death wish." The patriarch of the King Realm Fox clan was called Hua Haotsong. He was Hua Mei-er's father. At this time, he raised his hand and signaled the people behind him to be silent. "You are very courageous. You dare to fight against the Heavenly Fire Fox clan with a manor that is about to be eliminated?" Hua Haotsong said coldly to Long Yu, "I see that you have offended the dragon house of the imperial capital. You really don't know your place. But it doesn't matter. It is enough to know that my daughter is indeed in your Heavenly Mandate Manor. If you want to take her away by force, I'm afraid you will regret it." The corners of Long Yu's mouth curled up slightly. He was not afraid of the faint threat in the other's tone. Currently, most of the buildings in the Heavenly Mandate Manor had been reinforced by the divine rune crystals. Furthermore, it was protected by Guishian. It was impossible for anyone to break in. It was impossible for Hua Haotsong to send people to take Hua Mei-er away by force. "Let's go." Hua Haotsong did not want to say anything more to Long Yu. Perhaps in his eyes, Long Yu was already a dead man. It was not worth his time. He raised his hand, turned around, and left with his subordinates. On the other side, a group of demon cultivators of the Snow Fox clan dressed in snow-white robes were also paying attention to what was happening. An unusually handsome young man looked at Long Yu with a sinister look in his eyes. He was a young master of the Snow Fox clan, Ling Zimo. If Chihua had not brought Huomei back to the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Huomei would have been married to Ling Zimo and become his wife. His wife had run away with someone else, and she had even run away to hide in the Heavenly Mandate Manor where Long Yu was. It was obvious that Ling Zimo did not have a good impression of Long Yu. If he had the chance, he would definitely want to get rid of Long Yu. The people of the Snow Fox clan did not come up to say anything to Long Yu. In their eyes, Long Yu was also a dead man. As for the matter of Hua Mei-er, her father, Hua Haotsong, could handle it himself. The conflict between Long Yu and the crown prince of the Dragon House, Long Yao, and the clan leader of the Heaven Fire Fox clan, Hua Haotsong, was just a small interlude in the central square. There were even more intense conflicts elsewhere. There were a total of 256 forces in the North Snow dynasty gathered together. Many of them did not have good relations with each other. For example, the Azura County and the Ghost County of the Tianqin dynasty had been enemies for generations. If it were not for the restraint of the dynasty, such enemies would have long started a war with each other. They would not stop until one of them was completely destroyed. The conflict between these enemies was much more intense than what Long Yu had encountered. It was likely that from the beginning of the grand event in the imperial capital to the end, the atmosphere would be filled with the smell of gunpowder. The opening ceremony of the Imperial Capital Grand event was about to officially begin. Tens of thousands of people gathered in the central square. Originally, it was chaotic and crowded together. However, when an unusually beautiful giant iceberg descended from the sky and landed in the middle of the square, the entire scene quieted down. Yu Hanxin had arrived. Yu Hanxin was the pride of the entire North Snow dynasty. She had an extremely terrifying prestige in the hearts of everyone present. She was a genius demon cultivator that had caught the eye of one of the 5 emperors and was about to be accepted as a disciple. Perhaps not long after, the North Snow dynasty would be promoted to the Northern Snow Empire because of Yu Hanxin. In that case, the status of the forces within the North Snow dynasty would rise along with the tide. Therefore, when Yu Hanxin arrived, the tens of thousands of people in the square shut their mouths at the same time. They did not want to show the slightest bit of disrespect to Yu Hanxin. Long Yu and Shu Chan naturally quietened down and chose a place to sit down. Yu Hanxin descended from the sky and quickly transformed from a giant iceberg into a slender and elegant woman. She stood in the middle of the square and glanced at the surrounding people. "I'm very happy. It's another year. The grand event of the North Snow dynasty is about to begin. I believe that everyone does not want to hear any nonsense. Regarding the rules of the Imperial Capital Grand event, many jade slips have been distributed to everyone. I don't know either." Yu Hanxin looked around and pursed her lips lightly. She smiled and said, "Next, we'll draw lots of the first round. I believe that everyone already knows that the first round of the Imperial Capital Grand event is a 10-man team battle. As for your opponents, it will all depend on the drawing of lots this time." After saying this, she walked down the stage. She was followed by an old demon cultivator who was also an Emperor Realm cultivator. This Emperor Realm demon cultivator was the imperial advisor of the North Snow dynasty who presided over the Imperial Capital Grand event every year. His status was respected, and before Yu Hanxin's rise, he was one of the most powerful figures in the entire North Snow dynasty. But now, this imperial advisor could only submit to Yu Hanxin. They were both Emperor Realm cultivators, but this old man had admitted that he was no match for Yu Hanxin in a head-on battle. "Next, send your representatives up to draw lots. There are 244 jade scrolls here, and the numbers from 1 to 244 are recorded in them." The old imperial advisor said, "Those who draw lot 1 will fight against the force with lot 244. Those who draw lot 2 will fight against the force with lot 243, and so on." The rules of the drawing of lots were simple and clear. There was nothing much to say. There were only 244 jade scrolls in total because the 12 great forces with King Realm young geniuses didn't need to participate in the first round. The other great forces each sent a representative up the stage to draw lots. As for Long Yu and Shu Chan, they didn't need to choose anyone. This was because the Heavenly Mandate Manor and Azura Manor had only sent their representatives. Everyone went up the stage to draw lots, and the results were soon out. "What's your number?" Long Yu asked Shu Chan as he walked down the stage with the jade scroll in hand. "Number 8. Shu Chan raised her head and glanced at Long Yu. "What about you?" "Number 99. Long Yu glanced at the jade scroll in his hand. This meant that the Azura Manor would face the force with a number 237, and the Heavenly Mandate Manor would face the force with a number 146. As for who their opponent was, it would soon be announced on the stage. After everyone finished drawing lots, the old demonic imperial advisor stood in the field and said, "Now, starting for number 1, come up and register the list of 10 people who will fight." The list of 10 people who would fight in the first round had already been decided by Long Yu. As for the list of people from Azura Manor, it was just decided yesterday because Jiang Yixing had just arrived with his people last night. The main purpose of this round was to let everyone know who their opponents in the first round would be. When the force with the number 1 jade scroll went up the stage to register, the audience immediately began to discuss. Because the force with the number 244 jade scroll already knew who their opponent would be, as one force after another sent people up the stage to register their candidates. The various forces gradually knew who their opponents would be. When Long Yu went up the stage with the number 99 Jade Scroll, he noticed that the eyes of many people from the Ling Snow Fox clan not far away lit up. They looked at him as if they were looking at a fat sheep. Could it be that the Ling Snow County got number 146? Chapter 688. Like the Skyfire Foxes, the Lingshu Foxes were the dominant demonic cultivators in their respective counties, but they could not rule the entire county. There were many King Realm demonic cultivators of other races in the Lingshu County. Although they seemed to obey the rule of the Lingshu Foxes on the surface, they were actually against the Lingshu Foxes. Just like the Crimson Moon Valley Master Chi Fantion of the Azura region, he obeyed the Azura King only because the Azura King was strong enough. But once the Azura King fell from grace, Chi Fantion immediately stood on the opposite side of the Azura King. The overall strength of the young generation in the Lingshu County was not very strong, but among the 10 participants in the first round, there were at least 2 young demonic cultivators in the 7 divine realms, and no one knew if there would be more. If the opponent is really from the Lingshu County, then I might be able to kill all 10 of them, Long Yu thought to himself, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. The strength of the Lingshu County was similar to that of the Skyfire County. In the Skyfire County, was already a very outstanding young genius. If she was in the Lingshu County, she would be the same. And Huame was only in her early 20s. Among the young generation who were close to 30, there would definitely be people stronger than her. There would not be many such geniuses, but there would at least be 1 or 2. Long Yu went up to register 10 people as the representatives of the Heavenly Mandate Manor in the first round. He was the first, of course, followed by Hua, Mei, Xiao, Xing, then Man Xian, and Chi Hua. Long Yu randomly filled in the names of Fingyu Xian, Yi Luan, and a few others. They did not need to fight anyway. After filling in the names, Long Yu stepped off the stage and returned to Shu Chan's side. As the representatives of the forces went up to register, a total of 244 participating forces were finally decided. The Heavenly Mandate Manor would indeed fight against the Lingshu County. The strength of the county mansions was generally weaker than the mansions and mansions, but the Lingshu County was an exception. In the entire North Snow Dynasty, the Lingshu County was one of the most powerful forces in the county mansions, especially the Lingshu Foxes. The lineage of the demon foxes was very impressive. Almost every generation, there would be several strong cultivators in the King Realm who would lead their clan forward. The strength of the younger generation of High Snow County was sufficient to be mentioned in the same breath with the forces of mid-level manors and estates. As expected, the Heavenly Mandate Manor is finished. Many people looked in Long Yu's direction and sneered. No one thought that the Heavenly Mandate Manor would stand a chance against the Lingshu Commandery. It was known that the Lingshu Commandery had at least 2 young cultivators in the 7 realms of divine power who could participate in this grand event in the Imperial Capital. During the previous Imperial Capital Grand Meet, the 2 youths from the Clouds Now County had already stood out, and their names were known by many people. Although there is no way to deal with them personally, the Heavenly Mandate Manor will definitely be eliminated this way. When that time comes, we will capture all the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor in one fell swoop. Not a single one will be left. In the direction of Qinyang Mansion, the Mansion Lord of Qinyang Mansion said with a gloomy face. The men he had sent to the gates of the Heavenly Mandate Manor to extort money from them had been killed by the people of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, which made him furious. However, he did not dare to attack the Heavenly Mandate Manor directly. He could only wait for the day when the Heavenly Mandate Manor was eliminated. That would be the moment of his revenge. Now that the Heavenly Mandate Manor was about to battle against the Lingshu Commandery, it was impossible for them not to be eliminated no matter what. With the cultivator from the Lingshu Commandery taking action, he could probably kill all 10 people from the Heavenly Mandate Manor by himself. In this way, the Heavenly Mandate Manor would not be able to get a single point and would naturally be eliminated. Not only the Qinyang Mansion, but also the Dragon Mansion, the Soaring Fog Manor, and many other forces looked at Long Yu as if they were looking at a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Long Yu did not care about these people, but a familiar figure appeared in front of him in the next moment. Long Yu, you can do it. The person who came to Long Yu was Commandery Princess Ruoshui of the Ruoshui Commandery. The woman's eyes were full of gentleness, and her eyes were full of encouragement as she looked at Long Yu. If you need help, you can find me. It is not too late to change the name list now. It was obvious that Commandery Princess Ruoshui also felt that the Heavenly Mandate Manor was not a match for the Lingxua Commandery. She wanted her subordinates to pretend to be members of the Heavenly Mandate Manor and help Long Yu in this battle. Thank you, Commandery Princess. However, the Heavenly Mandate Manor is not so easy to bully. Please rest assured, Commandery Princess, Long Yu said with a smile. His eyes were full of confidence. He did not seem to be afraid at all. This made Commandery Princess Ruoshui's eyes brighten. She smiled and said, "All right then. However, if there are any accidents, remember that the Ruoshui Commandery welcomes you at any time." Okay. Long Yu nodded when he heard this. Although he did not need Commandery Princess Ruoshui's help, this woman was willing to help and even risk defending many other forces to help Long Yu. This obviously moved Long Yu. It should be known that there were many forces eyeing the Heavenly Mandate Manor. The Dragon House, the Qinyang House, the Soaring Fog Manor, the Skyfire Commandery, the Lingxua Commandery, and so on. All of them were waiting for the Heavenly Mandate Manor to be eliminated. When that time came, there would definitely be many people who wanted to destroy the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor. Under such circumstances, Commandery Princess Ruoshui was undoubtedly taking a great risk by showing goodwill to Long Yu. Seeing Commandery Princess Ruoshui leave, many people in the distance had murderous looks in their eyes, including the Dragon House's crown prince, Long Yao. That woman actually showed goodwill to that boy. She really doesn't know what's good for her. Long Yao lowered his voice and said to his subordinates behind him, "Send someone to the Heavenly Mandate Manor to guard it. Once it is confirmed that the Heavenly Mandate Manor has been eliminated, immediately take action and kill everyone inside. Leave no one alive." Long Yao was the Dragon House's crown prince. His father was a cultivator of the Emperor realm. Even in the North Snow Dynasty, he had a lot of say. That was why he dared to give such an order. The person behind him replied, "Yes," and then left to make the arrangements. The first round of the Imperial Capital Grand event would not begin today. Instead, it would be tomorrow. However, arranging people to besiege the Heavenly Mandate Manor had to be done secretly. They had to select those who were more loyal to them. They had to start preparing early. Once the Imperial Capital Grand event began tomorrow, the people of the Dragon House would probably besiege the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor and be ready to attack at any time. Yu Hanxin obviously could not be bothered with this kind of thing. If she had to manage everything, wouldn't she be too busy? Although she had high hopes for Long Yu, she would not help him with everything. Whether or not they could survive this ordeal depended on Long Yu and the others. The opponent of the Azura Manor is the Qinyang House. Shu Chan said to Long Yu, with the help of Jiang Yixing and his subordinates, the combat power of the Azura Manor was much stronger than that of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. It would not be a problem for them to deal with the Qinyang House. The Qinyang House and our Heavenly Mandate Manor have some history. It would be great if they could be eliminated. Long Yu said with a smile. The opponent of the Heavenly Mandate Manor was the Lingxua County. Even if he killed 10 people from the Lingxua County by himself and left them without a single point, it was impossible for the Lingxua County to be eliminated. In this Imperial Capital Grand event, only the forces of the manors and mansions could be eliminated. The foreign mansions were just here to let the younger generation gain some experience. However, the Qinyang House was different. If Shu Chan could leave the Qinyang House without a single point, the mansion that would be eliminated this year would be the Qinyang House. The first round of the Imperial Capital Grand event could decide which 3 forces of the manors and 2 forces of the mansions would be eliminated. Therefore, the first round was very important, at least for some of the weaker forces. It was a pity that the opponent of the Heavenly Mandate Manor was not the soaring Fog Manor or the Chinyang House. Otherwise, Long Yu would like to try to kill 10 people in a row and leave them without a single point. In that case, the opponent would very likely be eliminated. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. It was impossible for anyone to cause trouble for the Heavenly Mandate Manor. The Skyfire County against the Ruoshui County. Long Yu looked not far away and asked Shu Chan, "Do you know the strength of the Ruoshui County? Is it a match for the Skyfire County?" Shu Chan had been at the border these days. After driving out the Tianqin Divine Wing Legion, she followed the Snowdance Corps to patrol around that area. She must be familiar with the situation of the Tianlan County and the Ruoshui County. Hearing Long Yu's question, Shu Chan frowned slightly and shook her head. The situation of the Ruoshui County is not very good. It was mainly attacked by the hexagonal ice crystal beast and suffered great losses. Many young cultivators were killed by the beast, including a young genius in the 6 realms of Divine Power Realm. What a pity. Without the young genius in the 6 realms of Divine Power Realm, there is only one person in the younger generation of the entire Ruoshui County who can hold the fort. That person is a legend. Shu Chan continued. He is about the same age as me, but he has been in the 7 realms of Divine Power Realm for 3 years. It seems that he is very likely to achieve the sovereign path before the age of 30. That person is the nephew of the Duke of Ruoshui. His name is Sikong Yi. There is only one in the 7 realms of Divine Power Realm. It is really difficult, but they are only from the Duke's mansion. Even if they lose, they will not be eliminated. We should be thankful for this, Long Yu said, nodding. Ruoshui County, which had suffered the invasion of the Ice God clan, was not as strong as before. It was certainly not a match for the Skyfire County. If it were not for Yu Hanxin personally leading the army to Ruoshui County to eliminate the beast, the entire Ruoshui County would probably have been destroyed. After registering the information of the various forces, the crowd began to disperse and began to discuss. The first round of the grand event in the imperial capital was about to begin, and the most eye-catching party in this round was naturally the Heavenly Mandate Manor, where Long Yu was. After the Lingxue County, which was hostile to the Heavenly Mandate Manor, dispersed, many people ran to the gambling house and bet thousands or even tens of thousands of divine coins on the Lingxue County, betting that they would win. This was practically money picked up from the ground. Who would not want to earn it? But what they did not know was that this money no longer belonged to them from the moment it was placed in the gambling house. Long Yu was very confident that he could defeat the Lingxue County. Long Yu could defeat 2 cultivators in the 7 realms of Divine Power Realm by himself. He did not need to spend any effort on the small fries that followed. Tonight, let's do it. In a corner where no one could see, someone stared at the back of Long Yu as he left and lowered his voice to instruct his subordinate beside him. The subordinate immediately nodded, turned around, and left to make arrangements. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.